we'll just get going. Yep. All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call this regular session of our Auburn City Council meeting to order. Here we have Alice. Thank you. At 6 p.m., August 24th, 2026. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Present.
Dowden Calvillo. Present. Riddell Harris. Here. Mayor Davis.
Here. Thank you very much. Councilmember Amara, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up tonight we have a proclamation for Hunger Action Month. If I can ask Denise, do you want to join me at the podium? Excellent. Tonight we are doing a proclamation for Hunger Action Month, which is September 2026. In the matter of a proclamation recognizing September 2026 as Hunger Action Month in Placer County. Whereas Feeding America, the largest charity working to end hunger in the United States, has designated the month of September 2026 as Hunger Action Month to bring continued awareness that hunger and poverty are issues of serious concern in the United States. And whereas there are Auburn area individuals and families who experience food insecurities and must make difficult choices every day of whether to buy healthy food or pay for housing, utilities, transportation, or medical care. And whereas the Auburn City Council is committed to raising awareness of hunger needs and commends the ongoing effort of the Auburn Interfaith Food Closet, an agency partner of Feeding the Foothills, and the numerous hunger relief organizations throughout the area who provide no-cost, nutritious food to families in need. And whereas the Auburn City Council engages its citizens and businesses to support these organizations as they rely on financial and food donations from our community. And whereas food banks and food closets across the country will host events and activities throughout the month of September, and the Auburn Interfaith Food Closet will be hosting a neighborhood food drive on Saturday, September 26, 2026. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed that I, Kelly Davis, Mayor of the City of Auburn, on behalf of the City Council, hereby recognize September as Hunger Action Month and encourage all our citizens and businesses to support the efforts of local food agencies to reduce hunger in our area. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Do you want to say something? Okay.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Davis. I knew her earlier as just Kelly. I want to also thank City Council, the City of Auburn, and also all the community. You have been such a great support to the Auburn Interfaith Food Closet. We couldn't do what we're doing today without you. Yes, we do have food security in our area. It's about 12%, and we're hitting in the Auburn city limits about 80 to 84% are coming to the food closet. We're having a food drive in September. Look for your front doorstep that we'll be dropping off bags in your neighborhood. Feel free to fill them up. That's how we keep our costs down, is with the community's help. We're grateful for all that you've done. We're still 100% volunteer. And we have about 220 volunteers. We service about 32,000 people a year. It's about 3,000 a month. And our cost is 94% of every dollar you donate goes to food. We have very little overhead. And we want to thank all of you. And thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on. Next, we have adoption of the agenda. This is the time set aside for council members and/or the public to ask for removal, postponement, or a change to the listed sequence of an agenda item. The agenda will be approved by consensus of the council. Do I have any requests from council?
Madam Mayor, I do. I'd like to move the bike lane item up to the first item on council business. That way, we have a lot of people here, and I just want to make sure we get to that first. Thank you.
I'll second that.
You want to put that before the appointment of the new city council member?
I do.
I honestly would like the new city council member to be able to participate in that decision, so I would respectfully request a no vote, simply because I think it's important for the new person to have that say in the process as well. I think both candidates probably have reviewed the information, but I think we owe it to them to have that opportunity to participate in the process. So I would be happy to make it, what item is it now? It's item 11 anyway. I'd like to keep it as it is. I would make a substitute motion to keep the agenda as proposed, with due respect.
There's kids in the audience. I'd like to get it done as soon as possible, and this item was discussed and agreed upon by this council anyway, so I still think it should go before the,
I kind of would agree. There's a lot of people here, and it could take some time. We have questions, and
the appointment process isn't quick, so I just wanted to make sure we
and
passed
and
that.
and then I'm just concerned that it puts a person on a spot on a pretty large controversial
When they
item.
come on halfway through the agenda, so I think it makes more sense for me.
Let the record show I oppose the changing of the agenda with all due respect. I understand there are people here for the bike item, but I do think it's prudent for the new council member to be able to participate in this particular process.
And they are welcome to also provide public comment during the item as well. So we will leave that. Do we have any other requests?
No.
Nope. Any requests from the public?
So we are switching the items, or we're leaving it?
We're
I think you
switching
need
them.
to.
Yeah, I'll put it to a vote.
And if there's any public comment on the motion.
Sure. Any public comment on the movement of item 11 ahead of 10?
Okay.
Okay. Seeing none, I move that we reorder the agenda to have item 11 done before item 10. Roll call.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
No.
Riddell Harris.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes. All right, so otherwise, the agenda stands. We will move now to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one blanket motion with a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless persons request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and separate action. Any items removed will be considered after the motion to approve the consent calendar. Do we have any requests from council to pull items?
I'd like to remove number 5.
Okay. Councilmember Dowling Calvillo?
I have no items.
All right, any requests from the public? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll move approval of the amended consent calendar.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye, thank you. And for item 5,
Yes, that was me. Okay. This was the acceptance of the Placer Community Foundation grant Downtown Arts and Entertainment Business District. And I just put it out here because I want to thank the Placer Community Foundation for their $10,000 grant to the Downtown Business Association, who will put that to good use. The Downtown Business Association is going to try to have downtown Auburn have their own identity, and they're going to develop an arts and entertainment district. So this is a good way to start it out, and I just want to acknowledge a thank you for that. That's it.
Oh, Bolo gives a thanks too.
Yes.
Bolo approves. Fantastic. Do I have any council questions or comments? No. Any public comment?
I'll move approval of this item by resolution.
Do I have a second? I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Thank you. All right, moving on now, we will open public comment, and I will let folks know if this is your first time to City Council. This is public comment for items not on the agenda. So if you're here to discuss the bike lanes, hold tight. We'll get to that next. This is the time provided so that the public may speak to the council on any item not on the agenda. And we ask that you make your statements brief, not to exceed 3 minutes. We can't take action, but we can direct staff or place it on a future agenda. And I would like to, before we open it, mention that we do have a town hall scheduled for the automated license plate readers on September 21st in the Rose Room downstairs at 6 p.m. So if you're here for Flock, or automated license plate readers, you are more than welcome to speak or come, to the town hall. There'll be opportunities to speak then as well. So, do we have any public comment from council? No. Yes. Any public comment?
I'll do a quick public comment of, we won the kickball game against the Chamber of Commerce. It was our third year beating the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much. We had some VIPs, the fire chief and Public Works, some other folks on the team. There was some sliding going on. I was very impressed. So it was a great time by all. We did it out at ARD's Food Truck Fest, and we had a great time. Everyone is probably a little sore the day after because we haven't played kickball in a long time, but appreciate everyone for coming out and for ARD for hosting us, so thank you. Oh, and to Jamie Ross for organizing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good evening, Mayor Davis and council members, Wayne Nader. I think as we go through life, mistakes are something that we all have to deal with, and I think it speaks to our character on how we deal with those. Do we deal with them honestly, the implications of them? Do we deal with them honestly with integrity? Or do we do it dismissive, or do we just disregard it? I think, it speaks to character, and this is especially important when it comes to leadership in public arena, because that really comes down to public trust and an erosion of potentially public trust if issues are not dealt with integrity and honesty. Obviously, as you were sworn into this position, you said that you would support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, and that you obviously do so freely, and that you are faithfully administering your responsibilities as a public servant. What I'm trying to get at is that you made a decision last Wednesday at a special meeting to make an exception, or it was last week at some point you made a decision to make an exception to the election law with regards to Mayor Davis's filing for re-election. It was done during what is normally considered the extension period, when there is an incumbent that has decided not to run. There's an additional week that's given. And that is for new filers, not current office holders. So I'm really concerned that that is a bending of the law, very clearly in the election law. And again, I am very concerned and disappointed in that decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
I just want to make one statement, and I just want to say that I know we're not going to engage in back and forth conversation, but just to correct the record, the City Council did meet in closed session last week. We took no action. There was no reportable action. I just need to put that on the record for the purposes of what was just stated. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just also briefly mention that the clerk did issue a press release on this topic, and there are copies available from the clerk if anybody would like a copy here at City Hall or by email request, either one.
Thank you very much.
Ready?
Yeah.
Good evening, council members. My name is Sandy, and I am one of We the People. I'd like to thank you for agreeing to be public servants of the people, for having taken your oaths of office to uphold and defend both the federal and the state constitutions. I want to remind you of that oath, and would like to read you the preamble to the federal constitution and the preamble to the California state constitution as a reminder of the filter you must use in governing this body, as the constitutions are the highest law of the land, despite what any person or group would counsel you otherwise. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Those were our founders. The California State Constitution preamble states, "We, the people of the state of California, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom, in order to secure and perpetuate its blessings, do establish this Constitution." I would also like to share with you that the case Marbury v. Madison of 1803 clearly says, "Any law repugnant to the Constitution shall be void." In addition, the SCOTUS decision of 2024, Trump v. USA, clearly says that there is no immunity for unofficial acts. So I would advise that this council be careful to abide by the constitutionally pursuant rules and statutes that have been passed concerning local elections here in this municipality. It would be wise for the letter of the law to be followed. As a representative of the people, it is your duty to do so, and I thank you in advance for that.
Thank you.
I'm going to do some flock stuff. I'll keep it short, though. I'll do my short one. Members of the council, I want to remind everyone of 3 important facts about flock. 1, the flock system is a very large machine that follows people around. Oh, sorry.
Can you please state your name?
Jared Lovell. Okay. 2, being followed around is offensive, whether it's done by a human or a machine. 3, flock is optional. That's it. In a few weeks, we'll hear a lot about how legal flock is and how good or bad it is at catching criminals. We'll learn how the data is stored and how it is used both by our police and other flock customers. We'll learn how flock plans to save itself. The simple facts will get lost in the technical discussion. Modern people enjoy powers our ancestors could never imagine. But we also suffer indignities they would never tolerate. We've become really used to it. Our economy and our national politics are dominated by billionaires who hate us. On the internet, we're abused by tech companies because our federal and state governments are unable to keep up with technology. Social media companies addict our kids and make money on our anger and frustration. AI promises to make that worse. We're monitored and commodified by businesses of all kinds through our smart TVs, smart houses, and smart cars. Gas pumps shout targeted advertisements at us. We suffer in many strange new ways, and we usually can't do much about it. We don't need to put up with being watched by this massive flock machine. A spying machine, a machine we've allowed to grow very large because it doesn't move. If flock were a network of flying drones or robots, we'd have killed it long ago. Somehow, since flock can follow us around with stationary cameras and cloud computing, it seems normal and acceptable. Flock is optional. We can stop paying for it and turn it off. A machine that follows humans around a town or a whole country is an offense to human dignity and should be turned off. New data lifecycle policies and access policies won't change that. A higher rate of hot list success won't change that. Flock is offensive and terrible, and we should turn it off.
Thank you. I'll also let, oh, sorry.
Good evening. My name is Mark Hoffman. I'm privileged to represent Placer Repertory Theater. Placer Repertory Theater is a professional and educational theater endeavor. We have no current permanent performance home, but we do take our shows to various venues throughout the county and surrounding area. We provide shows for schools, senior centers, corporations that are interested, and the general public. Our season, official season, is opening next month with the show Dracula. We have venues already scheduled for that in other parts of the county. We're looking to secure a performance venue here in Auburn. So that's coming up. One of the needs that we have that I'd like to bring before you is that our executive director is interested in expanding our board. And we are openly seeking individuals who would be interested in performing volunteer activities to support the theater, such as ushers, ticketing, and other such things. If you're into costuming, if you're into set, construction, we're looking forward to any volunteers who would like to participate in that way and receive training in the professional aspects of theater. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What's the best way people can learn more?
Sorry?
How should people learn more about this? Is there a website?
We have a website, but probably the easiest thing to do is go to Facebook and look up Plaza Repertory Theater, or prt.org.
There you go.
Thank you.
You do have a very good Facebook, so it's a good spot to go. All right, do we have any more? Yep.
This is about the flock. Hi, my name's Dory Haviland, been a long time Auburn resident. And I know everybody has concern about these flock cameras, but I just want to say, hey, if it helps our officers, why not? If it resolves crime faster, why not? My feeling is if you're a legit human being, you wouldn't have anything to worry about, right? So go for it. Help the police officers.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Melissa Johnson. I am here representing the EDC and the Auburn Chamber. We announced at the last town hall that we are doing another one of the classes to optimize search for local Auburn businesses. We are having another one September 1st, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. and it will be held at the Canyon View Community Center. So if you are a local business owner or nonprofit, work for a nonprofit or run a nonprofit, and you want to optimize your search so that people can find you in Auburn using all the free stuff. I'm not there to sell. I'm a local business owner that just wants to share what I know, and this is being hosted by the Chamber, so you can check it out now and register on the Chamber website. It's free for Chamber members. Unfortunately, it's a Chamber thing. It's $30 for non-Chamber members. Sorry, folks. But you can check it out, and that's September 1st. Thank you. And we're going to get you next year on that Chamber trophy thingy. Okay?
Good luck.
We need to do some recruiting, Chamber.
You put your heart into it. I mean, you did some really good plays.
I put my knees into
and
it.
Knees too, yeah. Yeah, oh, it was great.
Thank you.
Saul Rocker, 1842 Crockett Road. I just wanted to make a quick comment that after a year of renovation, the Auburn Library is now open once again.
Oh, yes.
So come on out and read a book, because as my grandpa used to say, people that don't read miss a lot. So that's it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I would like to echo that celebration. It was, Alice and I were there on Saturday, and it was fantastic. The number of people flooding through the doors with smiles on their faces was just
A $10 million investment in our community. The library is fantastic. If you haven't been able to visit it since it just reopened, please do. It's great. Light, bright, airy, just a great facility. And the kids just went wild, including your two. I mean, it was wonderful to see. So thank you so much to the county and to the Friends of the Auburn Library. You know, they also donated $130,000 they were able to raise in the last year to support our library. So we're incredibly fortunate to have such a great facility in our community. So thank you, and thanks for bringing that up.
Good evening, council members. My name is Spencer Delling. My family and I have been residents here for about 40 years, and I only recently found out about the flock system. I want to address that. Thank you for announcing that you will host the meeting on September 21st. To be very frank with you, this is the type of surveillance measure that I would expect to find on one of my 3 combat deployments to Afghanistan. It's in violation of California state law, it's unconstitutional, and I would like to humbly ask why our elected officials feel the need to conduct such in-depth surveillance of our Auburn residents. It's rather confusing to me. So I would respectfully ask that you would consider immediately canceling our contracts, taking down the cameras, and also issuing a statement regarding the intent of the council to not intend to implement any further surveillance measures without complete transparency and a public vote on the measure. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, I missed your name. Could you repeat it?
Spencer Dowling.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? Oh, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Rich Nielsen. I'm actually not here for that. I'm here for the bike and railhead thing. But as a retired deputy sheriff with 2 young daughters in the community, I think flock cameras are phenomenal. I think for safety standpoint, for law enforcement, and for the well-being, when you're in public, you don't have any right of expectation. And I think we have measures that have moved forward. We've got LPR cameras. I've personally had my life saved from an LPR camera, and I think they're fantastic. So support local law enforcement.
Great. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed your name. Richard Nielsen, Thank you.
I'll also have the record show we received 5 other public comments by email, 4 opposed and 1 other in favor. So those will remain in public comment. Any other public comment?
Also, with any public comment received via email, we do have a copy of it in the back, and it's available as well in my office.
Do we have another public?
Hi there, my name is Eric Robb, and I feel like it would be remiss of me to not comment on flock cameras. Now, as the gentleman previously stated, you do not have an expectation of privacy when you're in public. You can be recorded, you can be photographed or whatever, but we're at a time in the world, in our country, with the advance of technology, where we need to make a choice if that means the opportunity to be seen in public means that you will always be surveilled in public. Must we always have the law enforcement knowing exactly where everyone is at just the little search of a license plate number or any other personal details regarding you? Does being in public mean that you will always be watched by the government? And in Vox's case, not the government, a private corporation that's selling your data, your habits, your interests to whoever. Now, there will be little walkbacks. There will be things that happen, like, oh, they're going to reduce the time in which they hold every single person in the country's license plate that happens to drive by one of these for a week instead of a month. And in various other things, there'll be some protections. And hopefully what they're wanting is for everyone to just stop caring about it, for it to stop mattering to all of us, to allow any cop in the nation to be able to track anyone in the nation, no matter what, for that information to be given over to other, law enforcement agencies, other agencies of interest, ICE, of course, another big one that takes advantage of block cameras. They're not supposed to, but law enforcement complies. A corporation could comply. The IRS could comply. Anyone could comply. This is not a government service. This is a private corporation that is surveilling not just you, not just the members of this esteemed council, not just me, but everyone, the potential for everyone to be tracked at any moment. Now, you better hope that you've never pissed off a cop. You better hope that you never married a cop. You better hope you never had a jilted lover be a cop, or a variety of other organizations that have access to this information, because they will track you. They track children inside of gymnasiums. They track their ex-wives. They track just women seeking abortion across state lines to prosecute them. They will track you. If this power is made available, then they will use it. It's not a matter of if, it's not a matter of a couple bad apples. If the power is there, it will be used always.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I could, I know we instituted this once before, that during public comment, it would be either during general or even when we talk about the bikes. If you guys have, instead of applause, if you wouldn't mind, jazz hands work great, just so we don't disrupt the council chamber. So just want to put that out there, that we always encourage that, just so that we can move along. So thank you to everyone. And jazz hands, like I said, there you go. He got the memo. Thank you.
Hi, my name is River, and I've been a resident for 3 years now. I just want to go on the record and say there are 30 flock cameras around Auburn, and anyone thinks that's a little overkill? Who was it? Someone asked, like, why did you guys allow it to be put up? And I think that is an answer that the community needs to know, because, again, it's an invasion of our privacy. Thank you.
No problem. Just a reminder, come to the town hall and we'll,
And just a reminder
Keep
for everyone,
something.
during public comment, we're not allowed to respond. So that's part of the reason why we made the town hall, so we can have more of a dialogue with the community, because we know there's a lot of interest in getting responses, and we're just not allowed to respond to public comment in the meeting on public comment like that. So just wanted to let everyone know that's why we're not responding when people have questions.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will go ahead and close public comment. Moving on now to council business. These items include discussion and/or action by the city council. And before we open up the bike, well, you can come up, Menjel, if you'd like. I just wanted to say a few words for folks who might be the first time coming to a council meeting to make public comment, just to understand the general process. First of all, thank you all for coming. This is one of the reasons I love serving on council, is because our community spoke out and we listened, and we want to take a corrective course. So we're here because we are listening and we want to find a good solution. And so tonight I am looking forward to hearing our staff report. I'm looking forward to hearing from a variety of users of this corridor, and with the intention of and goal of finding compromise. So with that, I will introduce our Director of Public Works, Menjel Dean.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and members of the public. There's quite a few of you here this evening. It's nice to see you. The item being discussed today is the bicycle facilities along Pacific Avenue that were approved on the July 13th council meeting. The roadway improvement originally brought forward by staff was a direct representation of the recommendations outlined in the Active Transportation Plan, or ATP. While the ATP provided a very good framework for improving bicycle pedestrian connectivity, it did not fully account for how this particular stretch of Pacific Avenue is currently being utilized. That is where the community input became especially valuable. The community helped to identify some of the particular shortcomings of this plan that needed to be addressed as we move forward. And I can't begin by saying thank you enough to everyone that's reached out. I've spoken to many of you in the auditorium, I'm sure. And we heard you, and your social media posts and things of that nature kind of came through, and it let us know where we went wrong. And the original plan represented by staff called for two 12-foot travel lanes. Ultimately, the width allocated to those travel lanes became a limiting factor because the original design did not account for on-street parking. That's what happens when you use 12-foot travel lanes. It becomes so massive that the road cannot be used for its original purpose that it was. On-street parking lanes can be narrow as 8 feet. Incorporating the additional width of that design, the 12-foot lane, didn't allow for that to happen. If you shrink the lanes to 10-foot lanes, you gain 4 feet in each direction, and you actually gain some shoulder width where on-street parking can then come out. I had the opportunity to visit the Soccer Fest. I'm speaking to the crowd. I know I probably shouldn't do this, but I just want you guys to know that we heard you. I had the opportunity to visit Soccer Fest, I think that's what it's called, on Friday night last week, and it was very telling. You know, there were some mistakes were made, and it's mostly by staff. We didn't necessarily give council all the information that was necessary for them to make the correct decision, or make the correct decision at that time. Since that, we have made some changes and implemented a couple of new plans that we're going to present here tonight for everyone to take a look at, and we do think that they're good alternatives to what was recommended. While the ATP spoke on a very general basis of what the Pacific Street should look like, it didn't account for local usability and how that roadway should be utilized and how it was currently being utilized. Today, staff has brought forward two options that we believe not only may retain the original intent of the active transportation plan, which is very important, but also provide practical opportunities for on-street parking in the vicinity of Railhead Park towards Overlook Park. I want to point out that this project only represents that portion between Sacramento Street and as far as Gum Lane. The remaining portion that turns into Pleasant Avenue and goes to High Street, there's just not room and width in the roadway to do anything there, so it'll remain as it is, with the small exception of it getting some sharrows, which will become sort of like a bike boulevard, if you will, where it's a share the road type scenario. I think it would be a good time, Madam Clerk, if you can pull up the options. So, and I'll go forward and say this, the intent behind this is for my report to be very short. I know it's already getting quite long. I'm talkative in that way. There's the two options, the option one and option two. I want to give council the opportunity to ask questions about what staff is thinking, what differs from the active transportation plan. And I also want to give the public an opportunity to gather what's going on here. I don't know how in-depth you guys got with looking into this report. Option one provides standard 5-foot bike lanes on each side of the roadway with the parallel parking along the north side of the street adjacent to Railhead Park. This configuration provides approximately 122 parking spaces, each parking space at approximately 22 feet in length. Can we go to option two? Option two provides parallel parking on the north side of the roadway along the residential side, while placing both bicycle facilities on the opposite side of the roadway. So the bicycle facilities would be on the side of the roadway that's closest to Railhead Park. That I tried to make it so that makes sense there. I don't know if it does. And the parallel parking lane is on the residential side of the roadway there. These are both very good options, and it helps to retain parking. This particular option allows for 122 on-street parking spots. No, I've got that backwards. Yes, no, this particular option allows for about approximately 122 parking spots, and that's with each parking spot being approximately 22 feet, similarly to what's happening on the other side. $102.
I have a quick question. So you're talking just one side of parking, and that allows 122 parking spaces?
Correct.
And are you talking all the way from Sacramento to Pleasant?
Yes, to Gum Lane or just past Overlook Park. Yeah.
Okay.
On the right side? So we should just have order with all due respect. Staff is providing a report. Sorry about that. So just as a point of order, our staff are providing a report, and then we'll have questions, and we'll open it up for public comment. So just for the purposes of decorum in the council rooms. Thank you very much, everyone, for understanding. Thank you, Menjel.
Absolutely, and I'll go forward by saying both of these options, as well as the original ATP concept, extended from Sacramento Street all the way to Sacramento Street along Pacific Avenue towards Gum Lane. So just to clarify that. Ultimately, both options accomplish the primary goal of improving bicycle connectivity while recognizing the existing use of the roadway and preserving the opportunities for on-street parking. I think this is a good opportunity for me to turn it over to the council so I can answer any questions that you may have or provide any additional clarifying information that might be necessary.
Madam Mayor, I have a question real fast. I just had a question really fast. So on the option one, it's a red curb, and on option two, it's a red and white curb. Is that, I thought there was something different about what happens during the main events that happen at Railhead Park?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's a valid point. So last week, and I forgot to mention this, I had the opportunity to meet with the director of ARD and his staff. And if you scroll to option two, so option two, while parallel parking is allowed on the residential side, option two also, with the bike lanes being there, gives us the opportunity to close the bike lanes and make it available for parking at some key times during the year. We've identified all those events that they have. So in total, there's about an event per month, we can say, but I would say that the most populated times, it's about 6 times per year where all that parking would be necessary.
like a major event that's happening there, not just regular soccer.
Yeah, no, I think so. If based off of what's out there with the 102 parking on one side and 122 parking spots on the other side, there's ample parking for a normal weekend soccer event. I would say what happened on Friday with a soccer fest where all the teams and all the parents and everyone were just there. That's an extraordinary situation.
So that would be someone.
That would be something
we would
that
open up both sides for parking.
Absolutely. We can easily close down the bike lane through signage and community outreach, and we can make it so that that now becomes available parking for everyone in the community as it's needed.
That was my
And how, so just to go clarify on that, Menjel, then, option 2 allows for 122, option 1, 102. Now, option 2, which would allow for parking on the opposite side of the Railhead Park all the time, 24/7, parking is available, any time of the day. The other side would be no parking except for large events. And those are events that you are working with ARD to identify. So anybody who utilizes the park, either Railhead or Overlook, go through ARD because they manage those two parks. And so they're going to know which events would require more parking. And so then when they communicate those events, I believe there are approximately 7 or so, then we would we would go ahead and close the bike lane and allow parking on both sides of the street in those circumstances. So, for example, when we have Formidable or one of the races that at the Overlook that people are parking all over the place, the bike lane would be closed for that day and people would be parking just as they park today, correct?
That is correct. And also take into consideration the staff is also aware of other events that are outside of what ARD does there. And we will work with other service clubs to make sure that those days are also identified. We know the 4th of July is a big one, and that's a big thing for everyone along
Nobody
there.
parks along, nobody is allowed to park on Pacific during 4th of July But I think though that anybody who utilizes either of those parks for any large event has to go through ARD because they are their parks. Now, that doesn't mean that people could be utilizing the Overlook, which is where the horse is staging area. So we'll have to coordinate with them separately, of course, on those kinds of things. But I just wanted to make it clear so I understood that that's what option 2 would allow. So thank you very much. I also had a question on sharing. I'm just gathering information. So just as a question about, initially when this council acted, we also approved a ped lane. And I understand that now the ADA makes that difficult for us to do that. So I'm wondering if if pedestrians are able to walk into the bike lane. I'm just trying to deal with them as well. Well, at
Most
their
likely
risk.
at your own risk.
But I'm just wondering, a shared use path, if you could just kind of speak to that. I don't know what the pros and cons of doing that, or if it is something that we can even do with the ADA requirements for the state of California, but if you could just talk to that, I'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to do so. I would say that stating outright that this is a pathway for both bicycles and pedestrians at the same time should not be done. It's simply no. That being said, the roadway is currently being utilized in a certain way, and there's nothing stopping the community from continuing to do it in the way they're currently using it. We have to take into consideration, while this is a bicycle facility, it's not like we're going to see 100,000 bikes on that lane throughout the course of the day, all day, every day. I think the usage is going to be what it is today. It's just that it's going to be marked. So if you are able to walk on Pacific currently with bikes that are out there, I don't anticipate that there's going to be that's going to be changing. I don't think that there's going to be an influx of bikes going on Pacific just because this infrastructure is now added. But to market as a bike and pedestrian facility, no, we shouldn't do that. And there's some safety concerns associated with that. And I think the narrowing of the lanes and just the way that this is laid out, it's ideal for the way it's depicted here, if that makes sense.
So then the narrowing of the lanes makes an impact. Obviously, I want everyone to be safe, but, so this brings me to another issue. I know that when you and I first walked the project before we took action on this, and we talked about the difficulty of putting a sidewalk in on the opposite side of the Railhead Park because of the right-of-way that would need to be obtained and the moving of the poles and so forth, and it just becomes an astronomically expensive endeavor, which is why I initially wanted to do that a little ped lane before. And in any event, my question is that if this is just a bike lane, I still would like to be able to somehow address pedestrian use on the road. You know, the road will be more narrow. I do recognize the fact that if we go with option 2, which I'm going to, you know, I would allow for permanent parking on that side, people could walk safely in that. So I guess I would note that area where people can park, there would be a white line, correct? So right now, there's no line. Right now, well, you got all kinds of lines out there. But before we started to do anything with it, the road just had the dotted line. There was no white line that delineated parking or anything. But with option 2, there would actually be a white line on the outside of the roadway, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then people could walk in there is what I'm trying to say.
So I'll ask this question
Thank you very much.
in such a way that
A little more.
currently there is, well, despite the red marks, I apologize for those ahead of time. Before the red marks were on the roadway,
Oh, you're on your papers.
there are no sidewalks there. People were walking on that street.
So, go ahead, Menjo.
The way, in the current condition of the road, people were walking along there. Nothing really changes with that. There's never going to be a situation, unless those events are out there, where that roadway is filled with cars. Those big events is when the roadway is filled with cars. So all the available space, both in the bike lane and in the parallel parking, are available to be utilized how it's currently being utilized.
Thank you, Menjo. And like I said, we're having this conversation, is that I just note that, you know, I use Pacific. I come out, when I run in the canyon, I come out where that gate is, and I'm along the road a little bit until I go back into the staging area and back down to the trail. And when I'm on the road, I always step off the road and onto the dirt when cars come, because you never know. But I do say that I like that line there because it keeps the cars in their lane as opposed to driving over into the gutter, so to speak, where the people would be parking.
For what, option 2?
Option 2, that people could walk. I mean, we can't call it a pedestrian. It is for parallel parking, but it does provide an opportunity for people to utilize that 8 feet for what, you know, parking. People could walk there, whatever they want to do, just like they do now.
Yeah, and I understand that perspective. I have some concerns. Mainly, well, we're here tonight for 2 concerns. Number 1, bike safety, and number 2, access to the park. Parking so that people have access to the park. Because I feel badly that this council unfortunately did not take that into consideration. That was an oversight. It was an honest, fair oversight. And as our mayor said, we're here tonight to rectify that. So my concern, though, is that I go there every Saturday. My kids played there, soccer, and that is a big concern. When you have children, parents, families who have no other place to park but on the street, they want to be close because they are carrying a lot of equipment, and that's just the way it is. So I have concerns about both options. I have concerns about since option 2 is there, my concern about that is that we have the kids, the parking will be on the opposite side of the field, so the kids will have to cross, and parents will have to cross the road and the bike lane, so everybody will be running across. I asked if it's possible we can put a crosswalk in, possibly at some point. And I know, like for Skyridge School, we have those shiny things that work occasionally. And you don't have to answer that yet. That's an observation and a possible solution. I don't know. Option 1, my concern, option 1. My concern about option 1 and looking at this is that, you know, we're trying to implement a bike lane. We're trying to to have Auburn become, bike friendly and have people. There's a lot of people in our community who do like to ride bikes, and it's growing, and we hope it grows. And so we want it to be safe. In option 1 here, the problem I see here is that the cars will be coming in front of bikes to park, and that concerns me. I've been a biker myself, and when you have cars going in front of bikes, that's a big concern. And then if you have cars parked, open doors, that's a concern. I
will say this.
I ask you,
Madam Council Member, there are trade-offs to both options.
absolutely.
The problem with this scenario and with Auburn in general, which I love deeply, I live here. Don't come for me. Each of these roadways provide challenges, and we can sit here and we can talk about what the challenge is with each one of these. I do believe that both of these options are looking at active transportation as a whole. That's both bike traffic and pedestrian traffic. And more importantly, that was brought to my attention through all of this, the on-street parking for the residents. And I think when you have a limited amount of space, you're challenged to how you utilize that space. I think option 1 and option 2 are good uses of that space. We can keep the roadway exactly as it is, but then the bikers are left out.
Yeah.
We could make some changes. We can use option 1. And yes, while we have wider bike lanes for doing that, there is the trade-off of where we'll have to get creative with the striping for the inlets and outlets of where you can pull in for parking and things of that nature. Option 2 also presents some challenges, but option 2 is one of those challenges, I think, a really good option, given the intention of the ATP, given what is necessary for the residents, given what is necessary for ARD and community events. There is a safety mechanism built into this by having that 2-foot buffer lane. None of these options are perfect. I would say one of these options is better than the other, and it certainly helps to serve the greater community. That's my approach to this. I can't make the roadway wider. I wish I can add sidewalks out there right now. And while they're not out there, staff is actively looking for funds to ensure that can happen. So these are all things that are being considered. We do have to start someplace. Auburn is small, Auburn is unique, and Auburn has the opportunity to do something great, and I think this is a great option to do.
And my other question, Mr. Dean, is that we did do a traffic study, is that correct?
There was traffic analysis that was done as a part of the active transportation program, along with the comprehensive safety action plan. Those 2 things were done concurrently, and to help us reach to this decision. Now, granted, I may have led the council astray on July 13th when I didn't give Councilwoman Dowden Calvillo all the information, but I believe tonight the opportunity that and the plans we have before you is a much better laid out plan, and that takes into consideration what the community has spoken to, the bike community has spoken to.
And then just for everyone's information, I believe you had said there's 7 exits on the side opposite the railhead park. Is that right? Did I
Yeah,
get
so
that right?
those are what we commonly refer to as contact points. So there's 3 streets, and there's, I believe, 4, and don't quote me on this, I think it is 7. There's 4 active residential driveways where cars would be backing out. So all of those were taken into consideration when this was developed. But there are 7 points of contact. There's 3 roadways and 4 driveways coming out onto Pacific Street.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Menjel. I want to thank you first and foremost for the significant amount of time that you've put into this. You have been very patient. I've questioned you, I've revisited you, I've challenged you, and I asked you to present more than one option, and I appreciate that because it gave us all an opportunity to debate, not just do it or don't do it. It was, if we do it, how do we want to do it? So thank you.
It is my pleasure, and I live with someone that was born in Auburn, so she holds me very accountable for some of those things.
And so I want to clarify that it is option 2 that maximizes parking opportunities and minimizes car, bike friction points or contact points.
That is correct, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I want to highlight that this is in line with the ATP that took 2+ years.
That is correct.
Great. And I do, I have the amount of hemming and hawing I've put into this over the last 2 weeks has been, I won't go through all of it, but
I appreciate your input.
in the interest of time, I just want to say thank
Got
you.
all kinds of great, you've done your homework.
No idea, and largely because I want this to be successful. I want us to be able to move forward with projects and for the community to be heard.
I'm confident that this is the best option that actually reaches the broader ATP, and we will be more cognizant of the community as we move forward with some of these recommendations from the ATP. And I believe that this one is particularly challenged because it's the lack of sidewalks in this particular location made this one more interesting, and just how Pacific Street is used. But we will be moving forward on a different set of circumstances, and we will have more community input as we move some of these things out. These people are very angry with me, so.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to say, Minjal, I do appreciate your coming before us today. I know this is difficult, but thank you for accepting, things happen, mistakes are made, we move on, we're gonna rectify this. So I very much look forward to hearing what the public has to say, but I do want to say thank you, Minjal, for coming up with a couple of options. There may be an option 3 that we don't even know about, but thank you, Minjal.
All right, as we move now to public comment, this is the time you've all been waiting for. Let me share a few tips for public comment so that we stay under control. First of all, as Councilmember Don Calvillo shared, we like to use jazz hands. So if somebody has shared a comment, you are in agreement, welcome you to do jazz hands. I know it's not that exciting, but it helps us judge the feedback in the room. So yeah, because we can see it and it helps us judge.
Can I make one comment? I know for myself, and I'm sure everyone on the city council has read every single letter to us, so no need to read it again. If you have something to add to, that'd be great.
Yep, I'll add for the record, we have 8 public comments in favor, 6 oppose, or with some of them have a yes and.
And if
Get
you
rid of
want
the
to
two-sided.
utilize any of the seating up here to wait in line, I know it can be a long time standing.
I'll get there.
so-
I'll get there. I've got all my advice. Just wait for it. Okay? I know. So hold your applause if you can. Jazz hands are great. If you are planning to speak, if you can move into seats closer to the podium, and that helps us move through. We will have staff taking a list of questions. So we will not have Minjal Dean come up and answer each question as they come up. We'll make a list and we'll address all of them at the end. And there's a 3-minute max. So we do have a timer, not to intimidate you. But if you do get close to those 3 minutes, I might start making a little face. And if you get past the 3, I will respectfully, for whatever point you're discussing, ask you to wrap it up. And here we go. We'll go ahead and open it for public comment. Oh, and please state your name and where you live.
My name is Celeste Lowe. I'm in Auburn, and I'm the president of Auburn Youth Soccer Club. Our club has over 50 teams consisting of over 700 players. Last Friday, we hosted Soccer Fest, which is our kickoff event for the season. We provided bounce houses and hosted vendors for a fun family night. About a week before our event, we were made aware that the curbs along Pacific Avenue had been painted red. We quickly researched alternative parking options for our families, finding that the next closest parking lot is at Overlook Park, half a mile away from Railhead. Pacific Avenue does not have sidewalks, which would force young kids to walk along a busy road with several sharp turns. In addition to Soccer Fest, we host Friday night games. With 3 games, there are roughly 70 players in addition to referees. At a low estimate of 1.5 cars per player, that is 105 cars, with referees 114. Railhead only has 100 parking spots. Once the families arrive for the next games, that's an additional 105 cars with nowhere to park, again forcing them into the nearby neighborhoods or Overlook. This is a safety issue that should be taken very seriously. I read the staff report that was presented on 7/13, and at no point was the removal of parking mentioned. And looking at the plans, adding in bike lanes would take up the parking spots. And while this wasn't an illegal way to present the project, it was certainly misleading. Public Works also stated in their staff report today, quote, "As part of the process, staff placed temporary markings in the roadway to provide a visual representation of what the completed project would look like and painted the curbs that would have indicated the elimination of parking." The staff report is once again misleading. The parking was eliminated. Red curbs indicate no parking or stopping. It was not some sort of temporary no parking area. The curbs on both sides were painted red, and the parking was eliminated until enough of us spoke up. Additionally, why were the alternatives presented today not previously considered? Is it not Public Works and the council's duty to compare and consider all available options and choose the one that benefits the community most prior to implementation? I do appreciate your recognition of that not happening, Councilmember Amara. Neither option being presented today considers using sharrows. Haven't we all been taught to share the road? Can the bicyclists not share the road with the families of Auburn? Menjel mentioned the bike use is considerably minimal, so it begs the question, why do we need a bike lane at all? Although neither of the new options presented preserve all of the current street parking, we are still appreciative that the project has been put on hold and that alternatives are being considered. We ask that the council members do what's best for the community and our children. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dory Haviland. I live at 106 Pinecrest Avenue, and I've lived there for over 30 years. For the course of 30 years, I don't know where he gets off on saying there's only 6 events a year. There's not. That place is packed lots of time of the year. And what happens is when they don't have a place to park, they park on Pinecrest Avenue or Meadowlark. And it bombards our courts. I mean, if you ever drove up Pinecrest, it has a sharp corner. We have lines of cars on both sides, and it's really, really hard to drive down that street. But that's not my main concern. I don't mind the soccer people parking on our street. I support that. But my main concern is not being able to park at all on Pacific Avenue. You know, that just causes way more congestion. And over this last soccer event they had Friday, we went out there and everybody was parking in the field, which fire hazard in itself. The weeds are tall out there, you know, behind the park, behind the pond. But, you know, that's fine and dandy too. But I wish you guys or somebody, traffic people, would have came to the people who live in the area and maybe, you know, asked our thoughts and how it would affect us. I can tell you over the 30 years I've lived there, we've had 2 cars go into the corner house on Pacific Avenue and Pinecrest, that blue house on the corner. 2 cars went into his living room over the course of the 30 years because people go way too fast around that corner. I loved your idea about putting a 3-way stop sign or something, a crosswalk there. That would be a perfect location because when people do park on there on the residential side, they have to cross. And I cross that street all the time with my grandchildren, and it's really hard to cross when somebody's flying around that corner at 45 miles an hour. That will slow people down, you know? So when they're coming around that corner, it gives people a chance to see that people are trying to cross even when it's busy. But again, I really appreciate you guys putting this project on hold and you know, hearing us. I do have one idea and a little concern with this 2-way bike path. I mean, everybody who's rode bikes, we don't want to go towards traffic. That would be dangerous in itself, even if you had a buffer, right? Maybe we don't really have that many bikers going through. Why can't they share the road like they're going to do down off past Gum Avenue? You know, put one of those bike things in like they do in Folsom and just share the road. Now, if we had a lot of bikes going through there, I could understand a bike lane. But honestly, I think a pedestrian lane would be way more important on the right side than a bike lane. You know, we just don't get that many. But that's it. Good luck, guys. I hope you get through it.
Hi, I'm Madison Labrador. Good evening, Mayor Davis and members of the City Council. My name is Madison, and I live on Pacific Avenue. First, I want to say how proud I am to live in Auburn. I am thankful and I'm proud that the city council put a pause on this project. I'm really proud of the city council for doing that. I know the city has a strict timeline in order to use the grant funding, so I know that is a concern. The decision shows that leadership and gives an opportunity to make sure that we get this right. I am not opposed to bike lanes. I want cyclists to be safe. I want pedestrians to be safe, and I want families to use Pacific Avenue to be safe. I live directly across the soccer field, so I see what happens on this road every day. I see parents with strollers, young children, seniors, dog walkers, runners, cyclists, e-bikes, motorcycles, and families walking to the fields and the trailheads. I also see vehicles traveling at very high speeds, blind curves, unfinished sidewalks, and people walking in the street because more than half of the sidewalks are gravel, dirt, unfinished, and simply do not exist. So right now we do have existing sidewalks. They're just uneven. And so I see right in front of my driveway, people walk down into the street to avoid the sidewalks that are used. There are also intersections at Meadowlark, Pinecrest, and Portland where drivers have to pull out into forward into the roadway just to see around the curve. So they're essentially pulling out into oncoming traffic, and vehicles are going 40 miles plus. So that is a safety problem we need to solve first. I think placing an 8-foot, this was also, I didn't know that you had alternatives that you were planning. So this is to the original plan. Placing an 8-foot class 1 path right next to active traffic lanes directly contradicts Caltrans guidelines. The state explicitly warns cities not to use those next to busy streets. So during the major events that just took place at Soccer Fest, the problems became evident. There's also in front of my house a pre-existing curb, and so people got confused what was pre-existing and what wasn't. So that was already there for the line of sight for Meadowlark, and so people didn't even know what to distinguish what was temporary and what wasn't. So the new paint created confusion about where people could and couldn't park. Vehicles were pushed into unmanaged areas, and I witnessed hundreds of cars parked extremely close to the railroad tracks. So that was extremely concerning. I think it put a panic in their mind subconsciously, and they started parking right next to the railroad tracks. I saw cars as the train was moving. I saw cars driving right next to the railroad tracks, which was very concerning. And I know it's used for off-roading, which I love, and I know that's safe because they aren't close to the railroad tracks. They're pretty far from the railroad tracks. So regarding what happened over Soccer Fest, this is real-world evidence that we need to step back. Oh, sorry. No, you're totally fine. So I'll wrap it up. If funding is the obstacle, I ask the city council to consider a binding resolution of intent to pursue future funding for the infrastructure of Pacific Avenue's actual needs. Complete sidewalks, clear fog lines, high visibility crosswalks, and 3-way stops at dangerous curves, side streets, and posted speed limits. Caltrans allows formal scope change requests during project pause. We can protect our cyclists and keep our neighborhoods safe. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, City Council. My name is Julie. Bet y'all can tell where I live. Recognize the signs. When you drive out of Railhead Park, you drive into my garden. So I live right there. I see it all. I've seen the accidents. I've seen the cars, hitting people and almost hitting people, almost killing people. It's very, very concerning. After speaking with several people, not this last weekend, but the weekend before, several people confessed that they thought it was a byway and they thought the speed limit there was 45. So they're going 50. So how about we post the regular speed limit? You can also put it on the ground to let people know, as well as when you have the shared lane on the bikes as well. That would be, instead of having individual bike lanes, because if you can put up his second proposal, if you look at the lane width, it's 10 feet. Your average car is about 7 feet. That gives you 1.5 feet on each side. If someone sneezes, looks for their phone, whoops, you swerve and guess what? There goes a little kid. If you want to put your little kid on the side and line up your family, well, then you'll be the first one, and then let us drive by at 50 miles an hour next to your kid. You don't want it to have happen. Trust me. It's really bad out there. I've been out front. I've been taking polls from bicyclists, from pedestrians, dog walkers, and it's been a collaboration from what I've experienced on when I've been doing this. So we would ask that you guys would collaborate, which y'all haven't. So we'd appreciate the town hall meeting. And then just to let you know where you guys did the red curb, they did the same thing on Racetrack in front of that convalescent home. And actually it has become a racetrack. It has actually significantly increased the car's speed. And I know that a couple of the residents have been here before you the last couple of city council meetings explaining and asking you to fix the problem you made significantly worse. Now you've done it on our street. And I wanted to tell you, I've been out there counting. Last week I was out there for, let's see, I think it was 19 and a half hours out there, and I registered, let's see, I had 102 pedestrians, 31 dogs, 435 cars, and only 100 bikes. So you're looking at only 12% of the population that use that road out there, and you're gonna cater and give them, can you put that back up on there for me? That would be great. You're gonna give them how much percentage of the road? 1/3 of the road for 12%. That doesn't seem right. I think as city council members and as people who are serving the public, you're supposed to be serving the people that don't have a voice. Those are the kids. Right there, if you put the parallel parking on my side of the street in front of my house, that means you're forcing all these kids to run across the street. You give them no pedestrian sidewalk. And then there is a perfectly good sidewalk. You said you walked it and you measured it. A narrow sidewalk has to be a minimum of 4 feet. It's 5.5 feet out there. So we have many other ideas, but the most importantly, the kids need to be the center of our focus because they're the ones without a voice, and this is endangering them. I have no problem with them parking on my street. I tell people, don't park in the sun, come park over here in my shade. But this is not taking them into consideration. Sidewalks where the existing sidewalks are, make those cement, a 4-foot bike path, and 4 stop signs, or 3 stop signs, please. And hopefully we'll be able to work with your city council director of public works in order to work together.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, I'm Bob Peterson. I'm past president of Sierra Foothills Cycling Club, chair of the endurance committee here in Auburn, and also a member of the bicycle advocacy and safety team for SFCC. I've lived in Auburn since 1988, raised 2 kids who played a lot of soccer at Railhead. But I'm really here to recognize the work that Minjel and the council has done to resolve the unsolvable problem. So given all the work that I've seen done through the Placer County Active Transportation Plan, the city of Roseville, the city of Rockland, and all the other work that Auburn has done, the objective here was to look at incidences of collisions with cars, with people, with bikes, and how do you do the best you can to mitigate those. And yeah, it's about 30% of the road for the bikeways. Within our club, a lot of people thought both options were great, but we're here to say that option 2 is the best option for a number of reasons. If you're looking at safety, that is the closest method to a class 4 bikeway, which totally separates the bike and the pedestrians from traffic. Here you've got that 2-foot buffer between the traffic going back and forth and the bikes going back and forth. And at first I thought, well, the bike back and forth, that's not a wide lane, but then I ride the American River bike path, and people are booking there. And so looking at this, it meets all the objectives for keeping your parking, active use of the roads, managing, bike safety. A lot of other data was thrown out today. I think that you need to look at every point that was brought up and put it in the proper context. So while there's no perfect answer, I give kudos to the city and Minjel and your team for doing the work he did. I really think this is awesome. It's flexible, meets the safety criteria, and is a big step forward for the city.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for letting us cut in line. Tomorrow is a school day, and it's almost our bedtime. Well, it's bedtime. So, hi, good evening. My name is Jeanette Pierce, and this is my son. Can you see your name?
My name is Garrett.
And Garrett, how old are you?
5.
Oh, you're?
Oh, 6.
Garrett just had a birthday last week, so give him a break.
Let the record show he is 6.
Yes. I grew up in Auburn, actually, and we live in Auburn off of Sacramento Street. So we use Pacific almost every day. We ride our bikes a lot. Garrett, do you like to ride your bike?
Yes.
Yes. So we are part of the bike bus. So we ride to Skyridge, we ride to downtown, we ride to Old Town, the farmers market, all over. I also coach at Placer High School, so I ride my bike to work, my second job. And so now it's kind of exciting. Both my kids can ride their own bikes. So while we do have the e-bike and we utilize that consistently, these kids want to ride on their own. And they're doing great. They're getting really good at the hills. However, I do not let them ride on Pacific. So we have a cut through that we use to avoid not just the hill, but the speed of all of the cars on Pacific. So it's just not safe with the cars that are parked there because the kids have to, and I have to swing into the travel lane to get around. So not only do I have to give them enough space to prevent someone from opening the door, but also I have to get on the other side of them to prevent other cars from coming up too quickly behind them, which has happened so many times. So we finally just said, nope, we're gonna cut across like where the railroad tracks are to Gum Lane, which works, it works fine. With the exception, one time we saw a really big rattlesnake. Do you remember that? That was kind of cool. Yeah, that was a big one. So bottom line is this is something that we were really excited for, and I appreciate that all the work that's been put into this plan. I got to speed it up. The outreaches, the workshops, the presentations, we've been a part of this and we've been supporting it for a long time. I admit that the parking loss is real. For those of you that live in that neighborhood, I think that is an issue with the events and everything that happens. I'm so excited that there was that option 2 is available. I think that is a great way to kind of cater to both sides in terms of helping us create a bike lane that we will utilize almost every day. At the same time, making sure that parking doesn't get eliminated, which is something that's really needed. So anyways, our vote is option 2. I'll wrap it up because I know there's lots of other people. Thank you for letting us cut a line, and thank you everyone for your hard work on this.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ted Treiber. I've lived in Auburn for almost 40 years. I've been utilizing that area over there for the last 25 years. I used to live off of Maidu, so I didn't have to go over there. I'm here to basically say the option 1 and 2 are both bad ideas. I'm thinking option 3, where we get a sidewalk on parts of Nevada Street, parts of Dairy, parts of Auburn Ravine that are very tight shoulders. There's no walking. There's sidewalk, no sidewalk, sidewalk, no sidewalk. Option 3 would be a better option. I've been hiking 2,000 to 3,000 miles of that canyon every year. I've parked in the same spot, and when I came there one day and found that it was red on one side, lost my spot, moved to the other side, came back another day, now the other side is red. I hike at 5:45 in the morning. Both parks are closed because they're locked up. There's only a few at the Overlook. So basically, you're denying me from if a future Ted comes along. I met somebody I loved at one time, that canyon. I've lost 65 pounds in that canyon. There's so many things that I've experienced, and denying future Teds or future whoever's coming there and utilizing the canyon. If it was a strip mall, a Bel Air, An apartment complex, I could care less if they lost their parking spots. You're taking away the Yosemite Valley from Auburnites who want to utilize thousands of hiking miles, biking miles. I ride 3 days a week through there. I start here in downtown. I use Gum Lane, come through. I'm on the road for just a tiny bit. If there's too many cars, I can go right through the railhead, get underneath, and there's thousands of miles that are being, are going to be basically denied. Some days there's like, when there's racing events, there's 800 contestants. Where are those 800 contestants going to park? I don't go and hike there when there's those events because every spot is taken up. They have the racing event at the overlook, so that means the overlook is closed for parking. That means those 800 contestants have to find all the neighborhood parking lots, which are the little tiny roads that I'm trying to think what the one is by the canal. They put up some barriers because people are parking illegally there. They're irritated. I've talked to numerous people who live in that area, and they're all just kind of fired up. And that's why I'm here. So I say option 1's dumb, option 2 is dumb. And if there's an option 3, like I said, some areas that need some sidewalks, totally for that. Like I live off Luther, and I've walked to town a few times. It takes me a few minutes, but there's sections where there's no sidewalk at all, and I'm like, it's hairball. So thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Is it okay if I interpret his?
Madam Clerk, is that okay? Yep.
Hello, my name is Sean. I live here in Auburn. I've lived here for 10 years. Yeah, about that. This is my wife. We have 2 daughters, 2 beautiful girls at the back there. When I first moved here, I fell in love with mountain biking. It became my new favorite hobby. And now with my kids, we have an e-cargo bike, and we go to the farmer's market, and we go to downtown events, and we don't have to worry about parking. And it is great. What peace of mind we have. It relieves all that stress of looking around for places to park. And it's so great to see my kids, their hair in the wind, and we can chat on the way. But one thing is I'm a deaf person, and I cannot hear cars behind me. I have to constantly be looking behind me because I don't trust the cars. People are on their phones, they're doing other things, and I cannot rely on hearing who's behind me. It's a constant looking back. So if there are bike lanes that are safe, it's going to give me peace of mind. I'm going to actually be able to enjoy biking. Yeah, both options have pros and cons. There's always going to be pros and cons with everything. But a bike lane is going to be such a solution for us cyclists. So thank you for this deep consideration and everyone's thoughts and feedback and different perspectives. I really appreciate all of this. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Steve Hyatt. I'm on Riverview Drive. I'm also the chairperson of the Planning Commission. I'm a retired transportation engineer, and I am envious at how much attention you are getting to this topic. Because when the active transportation plan came through the Planning Commission, I don't think we had any comments. So I would like to remind those in the audience that council is not always the first time you see items such as this. It typically goes through the Planning Commission first, and if you check the agendas, you'll maybe be able to find other places where you can comment. So, I was on the focus group of the active transportation plan, as well as having seen it through the Planning Commission before it came to you. And I also think that it's very important that this street has the potential for having more bicycles in the future, and something needs to be done. A do-nothing option is not reasonable. That's why it was listed high on the active transportation plan. I really only have 3 items that I wanted to mention. 2 is, I believe that option 2 is the best of the options. It's safer for cyclists because of the divided bike lane. Option 2 gives more flexibility with respect to vehicles needing to park during large events. And then the last thing I wanted to do is I wanted to thank Menjel and staff for getting the grant funding in order to make projects like this possible. because if it was not for that funding, we would not be talking about this and we would not be making improvements here in the city of Auburn. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Mapes. Madam Clerk, exalted members of the council. I am a small business owner, Auburn resident in the Sky Ridge neighborhood, attorney, and most importantly, I'm a parent. I have 2 young kids that attend school at Sky Ridge. We use the bike lane we use Pacific Avenue 3 to 4 days a week currently. I anticipate in the next few years when my kids start attending Placer, we will use it at least 5 days a week. Pacific is not a pleasant bike ride. It is not a pleasant walk. So I welcome any effort to make that area of transit safer for my young children and myself. Yeah, we can divert next to the railroad tracks. I'd prefer not to. We can walk down in the canyon. I would prefer not to. So I welcome and appreciate any efforts to make pedestrian and cycling safer along that, one of our main thoroughfares in Auburn. I also commend the council for opening this matter back up for reconsideration and public comment, even though you had no obligation to do so. Any suggestion that you somehow concealed or were dishonest in implementing this plan is inaccurate and it's false. You complied with the Brown Act in proceeding with this project. I also commend the Director of Public Works for falling on this grenade this evening. I also echo the concerns of Councilmember Amara. We'd prefer option 2. I believed option 2 would be safer so long as the bike lane were on the non-railhead side of the street to reduce pedestrian crossings and also crossings necessary to exit Sky Ridge to get to downtown Old Town or Placer, but then I heard that there were 7 points of ingress and egress, so I will defer to the experts' knowledge on which is the safer side. So I completely support option 2. Oh, I also am a parent who swelters in the heat of Railhead Park with kids at soccer. So I am on both sides of this issue. And please implement option 2. Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
All right, Diana Boyer. I am a resident of Auburn, and I live on Sky Ridge Drive. And so we are often, and I personally, as well as my family, are often traveling by bike, by electric scooter, running, walking along Pacific. We are often using Pacific. In fact, we just used it this week to visit the station house, so a member of whom is here today, and other businesses in the local community. I do, as others have said, think about the kids in this situation, and Pacific really is the way for folks to access Placer High. I am somewhat surprised that we've gone so many years without thinking of a safe route to school sort of grant to get that access route safe for them. And it is true, and research has shown that if there are bike lanes, that kids will ride those bikes and others will ride their bikes in those bike lanes because they feel protected and safe. And we know with Pacific Avenue, it's very curvy. And so it could be hard for cars to always know how to navigate those curvy areas, and we often do see excessive speeds. I agree with what others have said, that is something that is greatly of concern. And for that reason, I just really want to first say foremost that we really just appreciate, my family appreciates this council and Menjel's work and your staff's work in planning for a bike lane. As far as which option, really option 1, 2, or whatever third one comes up, I don't care. I just want to see a bike lane put in. I just want to note some things for option 1. One is that, and that's my preference, but again, I'd live with anything. But with option one, just thinking about coming from Sacramento Street, coming from Sky Ridge and that whole neighborhood, you kind of have momentum making that right-hand turn. So you kind of want to stay on that right-hand side when you're going towards, say, Placer High. What I fear is that you're going to have people have to sort of cross the street to get into that protected lane, which just also creates more of that crossing situation, which isn't always that safe. I did submit some extensive written comments. In my written comments, I suggested looking at some short-term and longer-term solutions. The first short-term is just get the lanes painted. Whether it's option one or two or something like that, fine, let's just get those painted. I also urge just more collaboration with ARD, our friends at ARD and ASRA. We have a very large lot in ASRA, it's at the north lot. I don't know how much it's utilized for some of that overflow parking. It really needs to be. There is some dead grass there. Maybe that needs to have gravel added, but that could accommodate so many more parking spaces. On the west end of Railhead Park, we're already starting to see some people dive in and park there. It's totally not a designated parking spot. And so I've let ARD know that. They're aware now, at least, if not previously. But I do think that there's some possibility of developing more parking spots for folks. I want to, in the long term, just urge that we could consider adding things like green paint, because really that's what makes these bike lanes stand out for visibility. That will also increase vehicles' awareness of bikes in the area. They're used all over Sacramento. That's where I work, and I see how much of an impact that makes, just that green paint alone. In addition, we could develop, I think, more parking for those special events, and also potentially a protected, completely like a class 1 pathway that could utilize some dirt pathways that are already existing now. That's outside, I believe, of the UP space, barely. It's probably in city-owned land. So that's all mapped out in my comments. So
thank
again,
you.
thank you
You're
very
good job.
much.
Sorry. I get so in. I want to hear and I get so into it. So I apologize for not having the timer here.
Hi, Mayor Davis, City Council. Thanks for having this conversation. Mr. Dean, also appreciate that presentation. I'm Alex Anderson. I support the plan to add the bike lanes on Pacific Avenue. Option 2 is my preference. One of the great things about it is it eliminates what's called a door zone bike lane. I'm a fairly experienced cyclist. I'd much rather ride in the lane than next to a door because you don't know when someone's going to open that door. It's a real hazard, so I think that's why option 2 is really preferable. I live just above Sky Ridge Drive on Valley View and walk and bike and drive on Pacific Avenue almost every day, sometimes a couple times a day. And I use that because even coming here, the most direct route is Sacramento to Auburn Folsom. Auburn Folsom, a lot of people acknowledge a lot of speeding. I experienced aggressive drivers on Auburn Folsom, and Pacific Avenue is really the only route to take to City Hall and downtown. The improvement to Pacific Avenue is not for me. I'm a pretty experienced and confident bike rider. I don't mind taking the lane when it's 30-mile-an-hour speed limits and things like that if I need to be safe. But it is for me, the 13-year-old me, the guy who got hit by a car riding on city streets by a driver who, quote, never saw me. This is the famous words of cyclists hear all the time. I never saw the kid. I never saw the rider. Got hit at 13 years old, didn't get really seriously injured, just a broken leg and a hand. Still rode a bike. I think that's what 13-year-old kids do. This change will allow safer use of the road by kids, people without access to cars, and about 10% of Auburn residents don't have access to a car. And also adults who don't feel safe biking today but would like to be able to ride to the parks, downtown, and the high school. It's going to make it that much easier for them to do that. As Councilmember Dowden Calvillo said when this plan was approved, the Envision Auburn outreach showed overwhelming support for a safe, walkable, and bikeable city. These events were held for the public between 2023 and 2025, and I attended 3 or 4 of these events. And overwhelmingly, every table I sat at in those events, people expressed this desire to be able to walk and bike safely in the city. I think the overflow parking issue is a real serious concern. And even if it's I was guessing 20 or 25 days, maybe a year, where we needed to have serious extra parking, I think that the challenge for us is to figure out how to make accommodations for those days and not just say that because we need it for 25 days a year, we're going to give it up for 340 days. It's those 340 days where it would be really nice to have that bike lane. And I think it's important to make it safe. As the residents have acknowledged, there are some danger issues there. Finally, this is just the first project in a 10 to 20-year vision for the city as laid out in the active transportation plan that this council just passed a few months ago. 2 more sentences.
All right.
Let's not stall out on our first project, and let's make our city safer and better for all forms of transportation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Melissa Johnson. I am on the EDC, a member of the Chamber Board, and newly appointed to the Planning Commission. My comment is, I don't envy where you guys are at to make everybody happy, but I want to offer a perspective that I haven't heard. I'm going to put my EDC hat here. I'm a local ultra runner. I own a home at Roby Point. And I used to come up here on the weekends when I didn't live in Auburn so that I could come and have access to the American River Canyon, which is to me a huge gem. And I know a lot of other runners that come from all over. They can't ride their bikes from Lake of the Pines. They can't ride their bike from Sacramento to access the beautiful American River Canyon. Now, I do want it to be safe. My kids went to Skyridge. My kids went to E.V. Kane. Try riding your bike there. But my point is that I think it's important for Auburn to make sure we're putting our best foot forward. People come from all over the area to visit Auburn and see Auburn and to visit the American River Canyon and have access via the Overlook. Because if you've ever been to the Confluence, the end of Roby Point is free parking. You have the top of Stagecoach, but really Overlook, especially if you're new, if you're from out of town and you're wanting to experience well-marked trails, that's the place where you can feel safest. So I'm going to speak for the Melissa Johnson that didn't live in Auburn, that drove up here every weekend to be able to run on the trails and access. And if both sides have been read and Overlook was being used, I might start driving to Folsom. So if I'm wearing my EDC hat and I'm going to talk about economic development and the way that people come from outside the area to spend money and support small business, I think whatever you do, you're going to have to kind of keep that in mind, because that really is a place where we can highlight the best of Auburn. And it's just something that I want to put out there. Again, I love bikes. I want kids to be safe, all the things, but the EDC hat and just making it very easy for people to visit Auburn, spend money in Auburn, and be healthy and access the canyon. It should be open to everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening. Can I get your stat real quick? Excuse me, you had 180 bikes to 100 pedestrians? Pedestrians? Okay, that's all I need. Hello, my name is Tony Marengo. I'm a lifetime Auburn Endurance Capital of the World resident. I'm also a business owner over at the Bicycle Emporium. I have spent my whole life riding my bike through Auburn, running in Auburn, and not only is the cycling community a huge part of where we live, it's something that's growing, and cycling encompasses people that live in shared housing with no money riding their bike to work. And it also represents people that ride a $10,000 bicycle that have plenty of money to spend in the Auburn area. And maybe it's only 12% of people that are bikes traveling over Pleasant, but a shared number of people to bikes is a very comparable number. And I believe that lots of cyclists that are not currently cycling in Auburn will cycle when there's increase of bike lanes. Someone for myself who's ridden on many types of roads, something that I don't necessarily worry about, but there are many people in the cycling community that need to have a area catered to them to feel safe. As far as the options go, I believe option one makes more sense. There's a lot of parking, not having to put both directions of cycling on the same side of the road helps keep the exiting intersections a lot cleaner. It also makes the flow of stuff a lot less confusing for people that don't understand there's a bike lane there. And if there was going to be an option 2, I think it's more important to have just than a 2-foot buffer. There needs to be some sort of plastic poles or preventative measure, because people will go into that dual direction bike lane no matter what. For pedestrians walking on this road, maybe there's not a beautiful paved sidewalk, but there's plenty of room to walk on both sides of the road. And there's not only the overlook, there's the railhead. Of course, it's not marked, but there's a gorgeous gravel parkway off of Gum Lane and plenty of places to park, and you can cross from railhead to town to the trail system without going on the road whatsoever. It's sites for crossing it. So walking on the road is important. Sidewalks could be cool, not only on Nevada Street and all across through town, but pointing people in the right direction to move is, I think, first and foremost. If there's going to be pedestrian lane in the bike lane, I think having anti-bike traffic, like walkers going towards bike, is important, so it doesn't get insanely cluttered. And which way it goes, bike safety is a mix not only of the infrastructure that's provided, but the information that's shared to the community and how people view it. Even if there's bike lanes, if there's people that are so anti-bike, and there isn't a area around Auburn promoting bikes,
Thank you, Tony.
there's always going to be hatred and doors coming out. Thank you. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Brian Abishon. I'm a long-term resident of this community, retired police officer. One of my concerns that I have over this entire situation is this a solution in search of a problem? Was this done through statistical analysis of daily vehicle miles traveled on the roadway, vehicle collisions per DVM, vehicle pedestrian collisions, vehicle bicycle collisions? What is the primary cause of the collision? And I live in that area, and I will agree with all the residents. Speed is a horrible problem on that roadway. What solves that problem is cops. Cops with ticket books. You can put white lines on the ground all you want. That doesn't change speeding behavior. We used to have a traffic unit in this town. A couple motor cops did a great job trying to stem some of that speed around the town. But my question is, if the statistical analysis was or was not done, maybe that's something we can take a look at and see where we're trying to fix the problem. Honestly, I drive that road many thousands of times on the way to Taco Tree. And again, I will agree with you, speeding is a problem. But by reducing the size of the roadway and now cluttering up what is a pretty open up roadway to avoid issues, I think option 3 might be just 10 gallons of black paint and a roller. Get rid of the red curbs. I really don't like 2. 2's forcing a bunch of kids across the road. And again, you can put up a sidewalk or a crosswalk anywhere you want. Kids aren't going to use it. I lived in that world. I mean, unfortunately. So great idea, I thought, with painting big numbers for speed limit signs on the ground, bigger speed limit signs, or like I said, put a couple cops out there with ticket books and make it hurt. I know for a fact that works. I spent 25 years doing that. So appreciate your time. Have a good day.
Hello, everyone. My name's Jackie. I have a house on 150 Birdsall. In my lifetime, I've been hit twice by cars while on my bike. I'm lucky that way. It wasn't in Auburn, but it was in an older town very similar to Auburn. Both times, the drivers were very good people who just didn't see me, like Alex had said earlier. I received medical attention, got concussed, and all that fun stuff, but I lived to ride another day. But that town that I'm talking about didn't start placing bike lanes and bike routes until someone who was hit by a car died. The times that I was hit by a car, I wasn't close to a high school. But the road that we're talking about is, I go to the canyon in the mornings, and I have these kids riding by me to school. I park at Placer, and I go to the canyon. and the kids are like, on your left, they're there. Biking is growing as a sport and a source of transportation for young and old alike. My older neighbors are buying e-bikes like gangbusters, and my neighbors' kids are riding to school. I hope that we can come to a compromise today. I actually heard a lot of terrific comments today on both sides. I don't envy your position, but I really hope there's a compromise here where we can give up some parking, not all, on a busy weekday morning and afternoon bike corridor so that our kids can ride more safely on their bikes. And perhaps this way we can avoid coming back here in the future because someone has been severely hurt or has died. That's my comment.
Thank you.
My name is Rich Nielsen again. I'm going to come here on behalf of 49er United Soccer. It's the local club team. I'm a board member with them. I'm also a goalie trainer for them, and I'm also a coach with them. I'm also a goalie trainer for Auburn Rec as well, so I can represent a lot of kids. That being said, I also have, they were in here a little while ago, 9 and 10-year-old daughters. We live at Mount Vernon and Millertown. I live on Millertown. We ride to practice 2 or 3 times a week. But we've been able to finagle our way through some private property and some easements and can get to practice. Something that was stated earlier is that there's like 6 or 7 days where we have events, and then we can open up parking with options 1 and 2. So we had the Soccer Fest Friday with Auburn Rec, and we saw the cluster of vehicles and stuff that goes on. The following day, which wasn't represented, is we had Auburn 49er United had 10 soccer games that day. That's not a special event. 10 soccer games is 20 teams. That's a whole lot of people. That's not addressed. I know personally, when I get out of the car, when I'm bringing my kids to soccer, if we're pushed another half mile or a mile down the road to park, first thing my kids do when they get out of the car is the soccer ball falls out. The soccer ball falls out, it rolls across the street. Because they're 8 and 9, they run after it. Or they're walking from the parking spot to the park, and now my kids are trying to juggle it, and they're trying to out-juggle their teammate that they just saw. Or they saw their teammate that parked on the other side of the road, a mile away, and the first thing they do is they want to run, bolt, and give a hug. That's tricky. So I think, you pull up the rear hatch on your SUV, and you've got your Easy Up, you've got your ice cooler, you've got your Auburn Heat, you've got your fans, you've got your coolers, and then things start falling out. They go in the street, the kids run after it, they don't look. And I think that's just something that we're overlooking. It's just one of the basic things. The kids get out of the car, they start juggling and kicking a ball, it rolls across the street, the kid goes and gets it. That's dangerous. I'm a massive cyclist. I live on Millertown. If anybody's been on Millertown, there's probably 200 bikes a day that go down it. I ride. I lived in South Korea for several years, and I raced over there. I ride bikes. My kids ride bikes. So I want to promote that as well. So I'm super excited that I'm not sitting where you guys are. I definitely don't envy that. It sucks. So I personally, I'm a 50-50 on it. But 10 years ago, before kids, while I was biking, I said, yeah, I want a bike lane. But now I've got 2 kids, and now I look after essentially, hundreds of kids a day between the goalie training, the coaching, the board member stuff. And I just feel that option 1 sucks. I feel that option 2 sucks. And I think, like my fellow law enforcement partner, I feel like we're kind of trying to find solutions when there's not necessarily a problem. So my time's up. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Katie Evans. I'm a resident of Auburn. I'm an avid mountain biker. I'm a frequent hiker of the trails surrounding Overlook Park. I'm also a mom to an Auburn youth soccer player. I'm speaking today in support of installing bike infrastructure on Pacific Avenue, and of the 2 options, my preference is for option 2. First, I want to appreciate the responsiveness to community concerns and the opportunity for further comments. And as everyone has said, you're in a tough spot, but we appreciate the work and the thinking that you do around it. Like many here tonight, I attended Soccer Fest, the event on Friday night, so I understand the impacted parking situation at Railhead Park during such events. But I am still here strongly in support of implementing bike lanes in the area. I've seen firsthand what a city looks and feels like when safe passageways for cyclists are prioritized. Davis, I think, is a good local example. I work there and I lived there for several years, and I commuted by bike every day.
And it's a city where its residents can and have taken full advantage of a very extensive network of safe bike infrastructure, and they enjoy a bike-friendly community, and I'd like to see this growth continue here in Auburn. I think we're trying to head in that direction, and I support that, and I think this bike lane speaks to that effort. Also, my students in Davis, they're able to save money by biking to campus instead of driving. They also get daily exercise, and they can feel safe while doing so. I'll say that I recognize geographically Davis, it's much flatter than Auburn, but we are seeing huge growth and interest in popularity of e-bikes, and that can make Auburn even more bikeable, and demands for bikes will likely increase alongside infrastructure when that infrastructure supports bike safety and bike culture. Here in Auburn, I live on Orange Street, so I also see firsthand the extremely congested driving and parking situation that surrounds Placer High. I think if more students rode bikes to school, that situation could be at least partially mitigated. A bike lane along Pacific Avenue could probably provide the connection and a safe connection for many of the students between their homes and the high school there, and perhaps can increase ridership in general. In closing, my young child, she's not only interested in soccer, she also is into biking, and particularly as a mode of transportation independent of her parents. When she's ready to make those rides on her own to visit her friends that live in the Skyridge neighborhoods, she would want to take Pacific Avenue from our house over to that area, and when I'm ready to let her do so, I really hope that a bike lane is there so she can safely do so, and it will likely have an impact on my choice on whether or not to allow her. So, thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Your arms are all getting tired, and I recognize that.
Hi, I'm Carissa. I live on the corner of Pacific Avenue and Sacramento Street, and I walk my dog 2 to 3 times a day around Railhead Park and around the neighborhood. I'm originally from Sacramento, and it was before some of the latest upgrades to the bike lanes, but I rode in town, and I both got hit by car doors and was hit by a cyclist while following the traffic laws in my car, which there's not really much recourse for. I can say that on Pacific Avenue, what I've seen is a lot of speeding by both bikes and cars, and running the stop sign, bicyclists running the stop sign. See a lot of kids crossing the street. Never seen, fortunately in the past year that I've been there, I haven't seen any difficulties navigating between pedestrians, cyclists, and cars. I support everyone being able to get everywhere safely, but I do think that I guess I don't really support either of the options proposed, although I do think there needs to be improvements to the sidewalks and possibly stop signs, speed limits, things like that, that will help people slow down and make sure they are making the right choices and kind of staying in wherever their safe lane is. The other concern I have is that I am new to this whole process, and so I looked at the last meeting agenda and saw this was only posted once on the agenda before it was implemented the next month, and so I didn't think that was enough notice, especially without giving the neighborhood residents any posted notices on their doors or anything like that, with an opportunity to come speak on it. I'm also in reviewing the safety plan, all the partners and things like that that date back to the related meetings. I think there is an appearance of a conflict of interest that people are a little bit concerned about with bike enthusiasts and bike advocacy. And I think that, you know, that should be balanced, and I just want to make sure that it's been brought to your attention.
Hi, my name is Brenda Tepfer, and I live at 200 Pacific Avenue. Railhead Park is my front yard. I I have no side streets to park on. I have no, I mean, I pull out of my driveway and there's red curbs on both sides. So my main issue was that I don't have a guest parking. I don't have a parking, if I had 2 cars, I don't have a parking. And I just think that, residents need to have a place to be. I have my coffee in my driveway every morning. I wave to all of the walkers that come by, say hi. And if I had to pick an option, it would be option 2. But again, I don't think there is actually a problem. I did have, the speeding is a problem. In 2016, I had a cargo trailer parked on my side of the street. It was in the gutter, and it got hit by an underage drunk driver, and it was totaled. So, and then a couple years ago, there was another car that was totaled right in front of her house. So the speed limit is a problem. We're not Davis. We're not the big biking community. And if you're talking about e-bikes, they need to drive in the lanes with the traffic because they're going 45 miles an hour now. I mean, I watch them go to school and they're going 45 miles an hour. So that's it. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And if I can pause, we've had a request for a potty break and water. So can we do it quickly? Yes. Yeah, okay. We're going to take a 2-minute, 3-minute. Okay, 3 minutes.
Sorry. Okay. You're like, we gotta go. Clearly it was needed.
Madam Clerk, this actually, I hear ice cubes, so this is fresh water.
It's weird for me. That is so funny. That is me. That is so funny.
That's a good idea. It's been mentioned numerous times this evening.
Oh, wow, it's 8. Okay. All right. See you soon.
Hi.
It's okay.
All right, council members and community. Madam Clerk, are we ready to resume? All right, we will bring this meeting back to order. And continuing with public comment.
All right. Hi, my name is Trisha Caspers. I'm an Auburn resident. I'm also a candidate for Placer Union High School District Trustee Area 3. I grew up in Auburn, and I didn't ride my bike in Auburn when I was growing up until I had graduated and I felt a little safer. And I couldn't get my son to ride his bike to Placer when he was attending Placer. So I'm an avid cyclist. My husband and I are avid cyclists, and we would love to ride our bikes around Auburn. So I'm a big fan of bike lanes, but we tend to go down to the American River Bike Trail, and we have lunch in Folsom on the weekends. But I totally understand what our folks are saying over here, and that sounds like a really hard situation, and I feel for all of you as well. And but I hope that a compromise can be made. I think bike lanes are so important, especially for our students who are, trying to get to school. And it does sound like some traffic calming measures could be taken. Maybe one of those signs that posts how fast you're traveling. I drive past those every day on my way to work, and they definitely slow me down. And also, this is maybe a bigger question that's not for this council, but it sounds like maybe Railhead isn't the best place for soccer. Maybe there needs to be another park eventually in the future. I'm just saying, it sounds like there's a lot of congestion, and maybe our town needs a new park. So I just wanted to throw that out there, think a little bit outside of the box, but I would go for option 2 if I had to choose, but definitely with some traffic calming measures and maybe a crosswalk. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Liebert. I'm a resident of Auburn. I am here simply tonight as a resident who cares about Auburn and where it's headed. Trails, bike lanes, sidewalks, and safe crossings link neighborhoods to our schools, our parks, downtown, and transit areas. This is worth an investment, not as a nice to have, but as an actual infrastructure that creates safety in our town. Bike safety lanes have been shown to cut crashes as much as 40%, and protected buffered lanes are far safer than unprotected lanes, especially after dark. Skyridge is using their bike bus. I would love to see the other Auburn schools have an opportunity to do this in a safe place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Hoggensmith, resident of Newcastle, but I ride up in Auburn all the time, and I ride for transportation all the time. And having bike lanes, whether they be protected or just regular on street, are both really important, and get a lot more people out that are not as comfortable just riding any place on their bike. And the other thing I'm concerned a little bit about is the door zone. If we do bike lanes on either side of the street, I'm leaning towards option 2. And at some point in the future, thinking about a little traffic calming to somehow get the speeds down, and looking at some more off-street parking. There is some space around Railhead Park, it seems like, that could implement some off-street parking either 100% of the time or just for events. And obviously State Parks has some additional parking that's locked up a lot of the time. So I think really looking at that off-street parking and as close to where the soccer fields are as possible, because you're carrying those easy ups and all sorts of stuff, and you're better off in a parking lot that's right there next to the soccer field. So look forward to seeing first of all, the bike lane improvements, and then in the future, seeing some parking improvements. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sarah Moulton. I'm the president at 49er United Soccer Club. And I found out about this from a random text message from somebody being like, hey, have you seen the red lines? We were not notified by the city in any way that our fields were going to have significantly less parking, which was pretty surprising. On a given weekend, we have, as was already pointed out, 10 plus matches on Railhead, and that's not random 7 times a year. That's almost every weekend. In an overflow situation, we might have 6 different teams playing at one time on our various fields. An average roster size is 18 kids. So you have 18 kids times 6 of that, and then you have inflow and outflow of that coming in. So that's roughly 200 families, and that's not including grandparents, uncles, aunts, anybody else that might be coming to that field. I was there on Saturday and had to park in a residential neighborhood up the street. When we get our permission to be a competitive soccer team, we have to have a playable field and we have to have parking that sustains that. And so if we don't have those options, then we can lose our ability to be a competitive soccer team in Auburn, which is huge for our community. It draws in so many people. And so that would be from NorCal if we don't have appropriate parking. As was already mentioned, we have safety concerns of little kids that are just out of the cars. I also witnessed a horrific bike accident in a bike lane. Somebody was turning left, somebody didn't see them, and they were life flighted out of that situation. So my concern would be that in that you have young drivers pulling in and out of Railhead all of the time. They're not looking, they're running late to practice. The bikers in the bike lane, they turn and they're just demolished, no fault of their own. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I think that's a valid concern as well. And just kid safety coming up and all of that. Another thing I would think about is when I visit a soccer field away, it's really frustrating to have to walk a half a mile to get to the soccer field. It does not make Auburn an inclusive environment for the soccer community. I would love if we had more soccer fields, but we don't. Railhead is where we do all of our soccer playing for our competitive teams. So just not having places to park is very frustrating as a mom who's always running late and dropping my kids off and having to get to and from the field a lot of times. Then I have to go park and it's just kind of a nightmare. So, and that's not just, Railhead also has dog walkers and all of the other things and all of the bike riders and all of the things. It's not just the soccer community. So it's already overflowing in the parking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Kathy Hagen-Smith, and I'm an avid cyclist
You
who
can
uses.
bring it down.
Oh, I'm an avid cyclist, and I use my bike as a primary mode of transportation. So I would like to start out by saying thank you. As I was riding up Nevada Street on Saturday morning to attend the library grand reopening, I was so grateful for the bike lanes. And as I recall, that was years in the making, and there was a lot of discussion about it. There was, I think, some bidding issues which you had to deal with, and I think Echo Farm Supply had some, and the neighbors had some parking issues as well. But it was a testament to all of your hard work and the staff's hard work for following up on every issue and being persistent about it, and finally providing some bicycle infrastructure that is so needed across this town. It is the endurance capital of the world. Pacific is part of the signed bike route. So to have a protected bike lane is just the most awesome thing, and to have funding for it and for it to be already part of the plan. So I'm really grateful for your hard work and for staff's hard work and coming up with some options. And at first I did send an email and I was thinking option 1 is something I'm more used to, having bike lanes on both sides of the street. But if option 2 with the protected bike lane is the one of choice, I'm in favor of you all moving forward and proceeding with it. So once again, thank you. And as a cyclist, I think it's the greatest thing in the world.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor Davis and our esteemed City Council, and Amy. My name is Sue Engel. I'm an ARD director, and I want to tell you how much I really appreciate getting the grant funding for this. I'm an avid bicyclist. I have an electric trike, which is a little larger than most bikes, and I really do appreciate bike lanes. I did have a question for Menjel and about the option 2. Is there a reason that we couldn't have an option 3 and move the bike lane over to the other side of the street so it's on the overlook side? Because I'd really like to see having cars being able to park right next to the park at Railhead, so there's more of a safe egress and entrance for the kids from the cars.
So a mirror image of the option 2?
A mirror image of option 2, but have the 2 bike lanes over on the other side of the street. And another reason that would be a nice thing is a lot of people come up Gum Lane, or they use Gum Lane as part of a bike trail. Well, then you'd be making a left on it, but you wouldn't be crossing the street. Right now, I have to cross the street. So that would be nice, because where I'm going, I wouldn't be crossing anywhere. But there were several really good suggestions about painting the lanes green. You know, that nice fluorescent green, pea green color, designates bikes. And also, I think it's a really good idea to put speed limits and paint them on the street. So any mitigating factors that we could do to slow traffic would be really good. So thank you very much for listening and doing this tonight. I know it's kind of tedious, but I really appreciate what you guys have been doing.
Thank you. All right. Nope.
My name is Rory. I've been in Auburn for 6 years. I wanted to first start with a compliment to help you out a little, because we did get a new improvement with Luther and Bowman Road with that stop sign, and that has been incredible. So I'm not against improving our city. I think that change has been exponentially greater for my commute to take my kiddo to school every single day. The one thing I haven't heard anyone else mention is that I love Overlook. I've gone there, I've ridden horses there, I've gone there hiking, running, and one thing is that I've taken my bikes there to go, take them out on the trail. Every single trailhead there has a no bike trail. So the one thing I can't wrap my head around is, why are we stopping at Overlook? Because everyone who said that they like to ride bikes and go that way, they say they use Gum Lane. So I guess I have a little bit, I haven't heard anyone mention that, is that I just have a little bit of a flaw with that part of it, is that Overlook really doesn't have a lot of bike accessibility for you to go anywhere other than tie it to a tree and then go hiking, or go use the skate park, or then ride your horse that you just took a bike to. It shouldn't start at Overlook. If we were to do a bike lane, if people were to vote for this, it should continue beyond that at the bare minimum to Gun Lane for the bikers, because that's their accessibility point. But I also don't like the idea of a bike lane. I prefer the idea of the stop sign that we just saw put in Luther and Bowman. I think the idea is slowing down that road. I think the complaints that we've heard from every single person isn't really about a bike lane. It isn't really about that. It's about slowing down that road. They're worried about their kids passing there. They're worried about people parking safely with the balls rolling when they go out of the car. They're worried about accessibility when they want to go hiking at 5 in the morning before work, because the gates don't open at that park. How are you going to be able to use the park without the gates being open?
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Dean. And do we have, but before we have our Public Works Director return, do we have any more public comment? Okay. Sorry, Menjel.
Hi, my name's Eric Robb. And first, I'd like to say that I've lived in Auburn my entire life. I'm literally born here, back when they used to have kids at Auburn Sutter Faith. And over my life, I especially recently, I've been very impressed with you guys and everyone else working on the transportation, because the public transportation in Auburn has dramatically improved in really tangible, noticeable ways, and I really love that. I really appreciate it. So thank you all. I love a lot of aspects of this plan, and it seems unfortunately we can't do 9-foot lanes. Now people talk about how dangerous people drive really fast on this. I live on Marvin Way that leads over to Roby Point, and it is a tremendously dangerous road, even though it sees probably a lot less traffic and is a lot smaller of an area and has hills. You wouldn't imagine people would drive fast, but I've literally had 2 cars destroyed from people driving too fast, not paying attention for 1 second, and then just slamming into a parked car. And this road obviously is incredibly dangerous. And so unfortunately, I would have loved to see 9-foot lanes be put in. Unfortunately, it seems that there's some sort of legislation or regulation that makes it so that that's not possible to do here, which is too bad. But I would very much recommend 9-foot lanes being put here if either of these proposals were to be put into effect, because on a 35-mile-an-hour lane, now it's counterintuitive because we all think that like a wider lane would be safer, like that Seinfeld episode where Kramer adopts a highway and like paints over the lanes, and there's a luxury lanes people are like driving like this in and out of. But it's actually quite the opposite. Compared to a 12-foot lane, a reduction to a 9-foot lane actually decreases accidents by 1.5 times. It makes it dramatically safer the more narrow a lane actually is. Now, I would absolutely recommend what a previous speaker said about mirroring this here, specifically because of the way that it turns. There's less of a sight line. How it currently is, there's less of a sight line on the bicycling side, and I think it would be preferable to have it on the side that is more towards the overlook, so that cars will have a wider angle in order to see bicyclists and pedestrians using the bike lane as they're coming around. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further public comment? All right, Mr. Dean.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. I know we're not supposed to address the comments, but there are a few things that are clarifying statements I'd like to make. The options you see before you don't depict everything that is going to be. They don't show the totality of the plan, is what I'm trying to say. The green paint on the roadways at the entries and exit point is planned. The speed limit signs throughout the course of the driving path is planned. I should have mentioned these things. There's other safety mechanisms, signage and things that go along with this that aren't accurately represented here on this plan, but those things are also planned. Should this move forward, it was not my attempt to indicate that there's only 6 events. When I said that, I sat with the director from ARD, and we pointed out the 6 events where we think those would be necessary. As pointed out, Railhead Park has approximately 100 parking spaces, and either one of these options will allow for an additional 100 parking spaces on road and there's also some of the community parking that's there. It's beyond that we were talking about the 6 particular events. And again, there could be more. We will work with the groups, and my intent is to reach out to the 49ers so we can get a better conversation. I don't want you guys to feel like you don't have ownership in this plan. Like, this is something, again, my kid plays soccer there, so this is something that is important to me as well, too. I don't want you to feel like the council is forcing you into doing something. These are all things we're aware. I had a short amount of time. If I would have known we had this much time tonight, I perhaps would have given you more information, but all these things are planned. I do intend to meet with you, as you requested, and we can talk about what this stuff looks like further. And I'll return it back to the council. If you have anything that you'd like to know from me before you can make a decision, I'm happy to help, and I'm happy to provide that additional information.
Thank you very much. Do we have follow-up questions or, yep, Alice?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to ask, Menjo, I know that you weren't able to give all the details of the project, but I heard you say today that this would include signage for speeding and things of that nature. What about, and Kelly, you and I spoke about this, the dots, those elevated dots, in the buffer between the bike lanes and the cars, so that if you go over it, you're immediately aware that you're where you don't belong. Is that something that we could incorporate into a project?
Absolutely. A mechanical warning strip, as we call it, the rumble dots or whatever.
Yeah, the rumble dots,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we can certainly put that out. I mean, truth be told, it wasn't planned as part of this, but I mean, hearing the outcry and listening to the council, this is something that we can certainly incorporate.
And the other question is, I know that you answered this, but it came up a couple of times. When you came up with the 2 options, and of course there could be a third, there could be a mixed match, there was some discussion about a mirror image of option 1 using the other side of the street. I think that I heard you say that there were 7 extra egresses and ingresses on that other side. Is that correct? Could you maybe just address that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So it's the contact point on the other side of the street, the contact points that make it less desirable. It certainly could be an option. It could be option 3. There could be several hundred options, right?
But when you talk about, just so that people understand, a contact point, so those are driveways?
Driveways, ingress, egress, also streets and things of that nature, trailheads that adjacent the road, that are abut the road, so those sorts of things.
So if
there's
there's a-
7 known contact points.
Non-knowns,
there-
okay.
there might
So
be
in other
additional.
words, those are potential safety hazards for a bicyclist or a pedestrian or anybody that's in that, because somebody could back out of their driveway and hit somebody.
Option 2 eliminates those points. That's why this was the recommendation, as opposed to a third option where those points would be included.
The other question I had, there was some talk about some crosswalks. Now, clearly, I respect the fact that right now, not today, let's say a month ago, before any red paint or this came out, folks were parking all over the place on both sides of the street. Kids were running across the street just as they would today versus a month ago. That is something that happens, right? I mean, kids, the balls, but if one side of the street has parking, yes. But what I'm trying to say is that essentially, without the red curbs, people are parking on both sides. They're having to cross the street. Balls are falling out. Kids are running all over. So, of course, as parents, we always have to watch our kids. But that is happening independently of anything that was happening with the bike lanes. So, but what I wonder about is crosswalk. Now, we've heard that discussion in the past. And, again, right now, kids are just walking. If they park on the other side of the street of Wellhead Park, which they can do, they're walking across the street anyway with no crosswalk. But I've always been in support of making Auburn safer. And that's why I really liked the active transportation plan, because it took into account all the different modes of transportation, which includes walking. And so have we given any thought to putting a crosswalk there? And I mean, that would add to the project, but what is involved in determining when a crosswalk is appropriate? Because I know that we had Councilwoman Riddell Harris raise the issue of kids walking across the Skyridge School, and we were able to put in a really large crosswalk there relatively easily. So can you talk to me about, is that something that we could consider with this project?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the difference between the MIDU project and this one is existing infrastructure. There is no existing infrastructure on Pacific and I know you would argue that there is, that is ADA compliant. That is the biggest challenge when it comes to these sorts of projects. Whenever we lay out crosswalks, which we love to do, and we're seeking funds to put in sidewalks in this location, you have to make it ADA compliant. It is almost impossible to make a paved dirt road or gravel walkway ADA compliant. It just doesn't meet the standards. It doesn't have the required materials, so that's the challenge.
Is there any way, though, anywhere along Pacific, across from Railhead, where there could be an ADA compliant crosswalk, like one? I mean, because there is some sidewalk, I know, but, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot. This is just things that have come up to me organically when people are talking, but I'm wondering if, again, I know we have to make sure that we're ADA compliant, but is there any infrastructure there that would allow for one?
Not that I can think of off of the top of my head, but that does not mean I won't be out there tomorrow driving, and I'm sure you'll all see me. This is the kind of person that I am. I want to know what I don't know, and this is part of the process. There were some things here that I was unaware of, and you guys have made me aware. We'll look into what ADA opportunities exist, and if there is something that exists, we're certainly going to exercise our right to put that in place. The idea is if we do put in a crosswalk, we have certain requirements by the ADA 1991 Act to make sure that it's accessible for all. I would love to say this is where you can cross, but then there's liability put on the city for doing so.
So one thing in that, Menjo, when you take a look at what the infrastructure would allow under the law, is to let us know, the council, what would be necessary and at what cost to make that an ADA compliant area. I know that we just signed off on quite a bit of ADA work, and I believe we had some grants with that, or did we?
It was in consent tonight.
It was on consent tonight. We did. I mean, we're always doing ADA work. We're required by law to make our sidewalks ADA compliant, and we're going through, we can't all do it at one time, so we've been doing it in phases. You've been doing a great job on that. But I would be interested in knowing what the costs would be to do that, to put in a crosswalk there, and that, we're talking about doing a capital improvement plan, but to me, that would be important. I mean, again, right now, there's no crosswalk, so kids are just running running anyway, and anyone is running, not just kids. I run. I look both ways. So, I mean, but if that's a possibility, I know that right now you can't commit to that. So we wouldn't be able, we could make a motion that would direct you to look into that and then get back to us with regards to ADA compliant and what it would take, because it's going to be extra dollars. There's no doubt in my mind. But I would like to know, first of all, if any infrastructure would support it, and if not, what would we need to do to put in that infrastructure, even if it's just for that one stretch?
So I'll say this very briefly without getting into too much detail. The limiting factor is we don't want to create pathways to nothing. That being said, we are actively looking at this particular area. This conversation alone this evening has brought it to our attention, and it certainly raised it up further up on the list than it was previously. Mm-hmm. There's a need. The community has spoken, the council has spoken, and we're going to look tomorrow, as early as tomorrow. I'm going to look at if there's opportunities to implement some sort of ADA crossing or just a crossing in general. Mm-hmm. We're going to look to see if there's opportunities to put some sort of signalized crossing. I took what the gentleman said to heart because I saw a kid's soccer ball fall out of a car on Friday.
Oh, that never happens.
Right, and I would be remiss if I didn't say it didn't happen to my own kid too. So, I mean, these are all real things. Your concerns are being heard, is what I'm saying. And we're doing our part. We will certainly try. This is just the first step. With a lot of these plans and a lot of the things that we spoke about tonight, the reality is this isn't the end goal. The end goal is to build upon it, right? And this is just the first step. And I think there was another gentleman that mentioned that earlier this evening. And it's hard to grow if you don't have a starting point. And I really want the community to look at this as a starting point to a much greater connected community.
And can I just piggyback on your last
on my
point?
Question? Yeah.
Yeah, the point, I think that's well taken point. There is a pathway to somewhere because it is the park, and people are going into that park without any opportunity. Even neighbors, they can't even get across the street to go to the park without being illegal. So I would support totally some information back on that, in that regard, because that's, I think, should be a priority. And I'm on the traffic committee, so I'd be happy to put that as one of our agenda items.
I'm happy to provide.
That's great.
I have a question, a couple questions. Just two questions real quick. I know it's getting late. As far as the gentleman's question that he had for you that hasn't gotten answered yet, he wanted to know if the active transportation plan is based on data and statistics around injuries. And I know it is, so I just wanted you to explain that a little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, another thing I probably should have brought up here tonight, a huge night of misses on my part. The active transportation plan, and more importantly, the comprehensive safety action plan, identified the areas of potential risk because of areas of risks that have already transpired within the city. So this plan wasn't just, oh, this would be a great place to put this. It's based off of current usage, future usage, and historical data. There's a lot of historical data that is pointed that said that this is the project that we need to push forward with first. Statistics are boring to people, so we don't generally put those in our reports.
But data's
But it
cool.
is based on,
Data
we
is
like
cool.
data, it's based on data. I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, no,
That's my
absolutely.
question.
This isn't I didn't think of this on my own. There was a group of engineers that came together and said, statistically, here's the data that came out, and these are the points of contact that we think should be addressed if the city wants to strengthen up their safety component.
I also had one more question about a possible, it's probably option number 12 by now. Is there a possibility of having it be no parking, whichever part we decide is no parking, Sunday through Friday, and leaving Saturdays as a parking zone? Because it feels like that would mitigate all of the school issues. But I mean, there's lots of places they say no parking because of street sweeping on certain days and all that kind of stuff. Is it possible, since Saturday is soccer day, that
Fridays is rec, Saturdays, Sundays, both 49er. I'm sorry.
And practice all the other
so whatever day might be appropriate? I mean, practices, there's not as, you don't have grandma and grandpa come and practice as much. But
So-
I'm
so,
just saying, there
just
might
to
be a
keep the decorum-
compromise to be able to be made if we talked through what the highest usage days are versus the days where kids are trying to get to school. Or maybe there's certain hours that we do it, or other ways of doing signage to make it more accommodating to those, and special events, of course.
It's an absolute yes.
Okay. So, but it might be, we might have to do a little more research to figure out exactly when those days and times.
And I can
might
work with our
be.
partners at ARD and the other groups to figure out what that would look like, but we
Because
can
a lot of times
certainly
when
do
the kids
that.
are going to and from school, it's not when they're also in after-school activities, so that might.
The beauty about doing something of that nature is that there's hard deadlines and hard times of when things can be used, so it's not so ambiguous. And I certainly would be supportive of something like that if that's the direction that the council pointed staff.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and I'll piggyback on that in terms of my preference for option 2, being that we have the most adaptability with it, whether it's times or days. It's meeting this tremendous interest and need from the community for safe biking. I bike that road 3 to 5 times a week for the last 5 years, taking my kids to daycare on my cargo bike. And now my kids want to also bike it to go to soccer and to go to the bike park and to go to rec parks. We use it. We have many friends that use it. And I think option 2 definitely meets both of those needs with the most flexibility to adapt. This is paint. This is paint. So if we can get a safe passage now, and then we get funding for sidewalks, and we get funding for a neat path that goes through Rec Park, great, we can turn it back into parking. If we go with option 1, that's a lot more striping that needs to be redone. Very, very clear tonight, traffic calming is absolutely necessary across the board.
I did have one more quick question.
Yeah.
Remind me of the timelines of the grant and what we would have to meet in order to, or what we would lose if we didn't do things in a certain time frame.
So I'm not prepared to speak about funding mechanisms for this particuur project this
Okay,
evening.
it's not on a grant with a timeline that we're worried about.
I'm not concerned about that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I think
Okay.
it's SBD, it's the.
So
Or LTF.
it's SB1 funds.
SB1 funds.
SB1 funds that were utilized that we received through gas tax and things of that nature. I know that I can't speak in its totality because we have projects that utilize this and I just don't know. I don't want to give bad
But there's
information.
not a sense of urgency around money and grant funding for this particular project right now.
I would not say that there is a definitive need to do this at this very moment.
Okay, just wanted to check.
Thank you. One other note I want to make in terms of funding is that there's a need to start somewhere, like you said, right? We will never in a million years have millions of dollars to complete every path and every sidewalk and every dream all at once. And if we don't start with half a mile when we have enough money to do half a mile, we're never going to make progress. And so I think that's really important to consider, that we're not picking these things arbitrarily. We're picking things that match a need and a budget amount that we've received, focusing on making those funds not from our general fund.
And I not to cut you off, Madam Mayor, but there is one additional thing that no one spoke about this evening that should be considered. When you're putting in public infrastructure, it has to be on publicly owned land. There's a gross amount of right-of-way acquisition that would be required in order for us to put in public sidewalks. So it's not, it doesn't go without us, thinking about this sort of thing, but there is a lot of additional work. And to your point, this is just the foundation to get some of that kicked
Yeah, this is the foundation, and it is, from the perspective of parents that I've talked to, it is terrifying to ride with young children on a completely unmarked road. So I think indefinitely leaving it blank is also an incredible risk to the community. And I think the option to maximizes parking reduces interference between cars and bikes. And we absolutely need to look at the plans for crosswalks and slowing. And I think we would probably like to see that at the next meeting or soon before we approve the new striping plan.
So,
Or a
also,
traffic
Madam
committee.
Mayor,
Comments now?
I was just going to ask for
Are we going through and doing
clarification if
comments
I-
now?
I'm sorry, I was just going to ask for because it sounds, are you suggesting that maybe we continue this item and allow staff to come back with the answers that we've asked the questions for? Okay.
I mean, yeah.
I'd have more comments about
Yeah.
what I'd like staff to look
Yes,
into.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Did you want to go?
Sure.
Yep.
For me, I know it takes a lot of time to put some stuff like this together, and I feel like you should get more time. That's where I'm at right now, because I just feel like this isn't fully baked, and I'd like to have more outreach to the community, outreach to the neighborhood, outreach to those who are the user of the park, and work with ARD in order to do that. Maybe even talk to ARD if there's any opportunities for more parking, things like that. And it just feels like we haven't had enough time to work through all the details. I'm not a big fan of fire, aim, shoot. And sometimes you get in that when you're trying to fix things on the fly that didn't quite go as we planned. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I do like that this highlighted the issues with this neighborhood. I wish we could do that with all the neighborhoods, to be perfectly honest, because we did the active transportation plan. We had a lot of people mark on a map. We emailed out to everyone and messaged everyone that we wanted them all to give feedback on this map, but I don't feel like the communication got out to everyone, and that's hard to do with everyone's got busy lives and kids and things like that. So, but I feel like maybe when we're working in a particular area, doing that, outreach to those particular people who utilize that area the most might be beneficial. So I think that is worth working through before we move forward. So that way
Well, I
we have
think,
a plan that everyone feels included.
Just a point, I'm not sure where we're at. Are we making a decision to have a bike lane or not have a bike lane tonight? And then what you would like is further answers so that we choose between the two? Is that what I hear you saying?
I'm just making comments on what I feel like we need to do more of beforehand. I don't, because of all these things, I don't really feel like I'm ready to vote for any option tonight. But I'm firmly in favor of a bike lane. I'm not going to say that I'm going to not want a bike lane, but I think it needs to be all the way fleshed out and thought through, and that the concerns of the people who use the park and the concerns of the neighbors and all of those need to be addressed as best as possible. You're never going to make everyone happy, but I feel like the communication wasn't there to those people. And since there's not a sense of urgency that we have to get this done right now, I feel like taking an extra month to sort through some of that stuff and maybe come back with a better solution would be well worth our time to do. So I think
I'd like, and I hear what you're saying. Have you had some outreach? I thought you were able to the last month and a half with all the.
So there was a significant amount of outreach done to get us to the point where we're at.
That's what I thought.
That being said, I don't think the outreach reached all the folks that.
I want to pause. We have a comment from our city manager.
I definitely appreciate the council's desire to study this issue further. We do have a lot of red curbing out there, which is creating some confusion. And right now, I think everybody with the short notice, we were able to say we are not enforcing that for that short period of time for the council to have this meeting this evening. We also have a contractor, which we're under contract for, that had certain deadlines to meet that we've now pushed those out. So it's not saying that we cannot do these things, but when I start hearing months down the road, it does bring me to think that maybe we should just go back and eliminate that red curbing and have the contractor, permanently on pause if a lot of the changes that I'm hearing that the council may want to be considering in the future. That will give us the time that I'm hearing you may want. Put the contractor on hold, have them paint the curbs back, and that will give you then, I think, the time that you're asking for.
Just a question on that, Mr. City Manager. Thank you very much for reminding us of the fact that we did enter into a contract as, if we put this on pause for too long, do we run the risk of additional costs or the costs that were originally given to us?
Yes, we've already incurred additional cost by putting the contractor on hold and having this meeting. Had a decision been reached this evening, those would have been easily absorbed within the contingency which we build into a public works contract. If we're going to have months long of a delay, that's going to require a different conversation with the contractor, and may actually have some of that cost be to restore the pavement to what it was, or the curbing, and then look at what the new project is. If the new project is substantially different, it may require some rebidding, depending on where we land.
And that is a concern that I just have from a fiscal perspective, is that our budget is very limited. And I know that we sought transportation monies, which can only be utilized for transportation projects like this. We're not using any general fund money. And that's important because the pressure on our general fund is so great, because that's what we pay for our police and our fire and things of that nature. And so, I think I'm always in support of public comment and having the opportunity for people to come in. And I'm very grateful that we've had so many people come here today to give us input. That's been great. We've heard quite a bit of it. And we've come up with some suggestions on looking further at crosswalks, the dots for protection, things of that nature. But I would just be concerned that if we're just going to put this out indefinitely, I think...
I never said indefinitely.
Well,
I said
not indefinitely, or even a couple of months. I just get concerned.
No, I said a month.
Yeah, I don't even think it requires
Let's not put words in my mouth.
I mean, I'm just going to say from my perspective is that I think, certainly, I spoke in support of a bike lane. I was under a different impression last time, and we also included a little ped lane, which we had to back that out because of the ADA. And so I just, clearly it's our job to protect all of those who are here in the city of Auburn, whatever transportation means they wish to choose. If it's walking, riding their bike, their unicycle, their car, their truck, their motorcycle, what have you. And I'm supportive of putting a bike lane there. I do like option 2. I like the opportunity to allow for parking for whatever amount of events. And to me, the workaround really here, if we approve the bike lane, but we work with the parties to determine when the bike lane is closed, I have no problem. In fact, I would highly encourage lots of discussion on that with the users and say, okay, let's work together. What dates, and bring the bike community in too, where that bike lane is going to be closed for specific events, so that people can park on both sides. But I think option 2 gives a lot of parking. It takes a little bit away. I'm on Pacific, but mostly on the upper part when I run. I don't run so much near Railhead. My kid just started her sophomore year at Berkeley, so she's not playing soccer at the park this year. But, I think that's where we can do some additional outreach. I absolutely, and I think my colleagues agree on the crosswalk, but that's going to be a supplemental. It's not part of this project, but I absolutely want to know how we can incorporate that. But that would be an amendment to the contract should we choose to move in that direction, or a new contract altogether for that.
I would agree with Councilwoman Dowden Cavillo that there's a lot of people here who are expecting a decision, and tonight if we're not going to make one, I don't think that's fair for them either. So I think it's important for us to give a path forward, and it's up to staff to work through the details. I mean, we're not staff. We need to make the major decision and move forward. And just to understand my perspective, I am very supportive. I totally understand the concern that the neighbors have, the soccer individuals have. I understand. I totally respect the safety element, and we have to address that. And I think with a crosswalk, we're addressing that, and there's other ways as well, which you alluded to. I also want to point out that, if anybody's been to any town that is even just slightly larger than ours, I think we're an up-and-coming town, and we have a lot to offer, and our town is going to catch the wave of bicycles and transporting children going to and from schools with bicycles, other than just being in their cars. And so I think we need to be ahead of the wave. I know you have a good statistic, and I respect that right now, but we're hoping to get people out of their cars and moving without vehicles. And hopefully it will be safer, and we can shrink the lanes. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm supportive of a bike lane, and listening to everyone, and after our Public Works Director here told us about how many parking spaces, and council, I feel the sense that council wants a bike lane, and so I think we should definitely move forward. I'm supportive with option 2 as well. I think that's the safest, especially for people who ride bikes, and we want our bicycle, our first go at it to be successful, and I think that would be a very good compromise, and it would allow a lot of parking. But I do think that the crosswalk is very important for us to look into as soon as possible.
Can I finish my comments? You guys started talking and I never got to finish.
Sorry.
I appreciate all of your thoughts. I have not heard an overwhelming opinion tonight that bike lanes in this particular method are what our constituents want, and the people who utilize that area and people who live there. So though I feel like a bike lane is important, I don't feel like the needs and wants of our other constituents are any less important. And for me, maybe it's 2 weeks. Maybe we give Menjol 2 more weeks to figure out the details. But I'm like you, I want it to go well, and doing it haphazard and quickly and not having all the answers to provide to our constituents who use it so that they feel comfortable moving forward. I feel like we'll create a bad experience and make it so it's harder for us to move forward with other bike lanes, because I don't want to have people have a negative experience, and ignoring people's concerns is not a positive experience. Making them feel included in the process, making them feel heard, and moving forward together as a community is the most important thing, and I don't feel like we're doing that if we make a decision tonight, because I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the data. Maybe it would be good for us to go on Saturday and figure out how many parked cars there are. We're just using random statistics. I need some data, and I want to know how we're going to plan on making this work so everyone can feel comfortable.
Mr. Dean.
I'll move that we.
Well, but maybe I don't think we've all finised.
I think Menjol could probably work with you all rather than us, because it's hard to coordinate our schedules. That would take a while.
Make a motion.
But
I don't want to.
Menjol does a pretty good job of working with folks and communicating with them. I think that would be the best way. But yes, I also agree that I don't know if it's possible to put into the contract either, but traffic calming seems like a very important thing in this area, and in some ways more important than a bike lane. So I think we need to talk about what that looks like and how. I know that making lanes more narrow helps with that, because we did that on Maidu, and it really helped with some of the speeds on Maidu. But I think that there might be some other opportunities for looking at traffic calming too that we also need to make sure that we're looking at.
I'll say that the contractor is a local contractor. He has a vested interest in the community. That being said, he still has a business to run. I know if we push this out beyond a certain point, that we may not even be able to make his schedule at this point for the rest of this year. And most certainly there will be additional costs. We've already began the conversation about all the traffic calming things, some of the things I've already mentioned, but I think one of the things that has come out of this meeting this evening is certainly that there needs to be more enforcement along Pacific. And I think, you know, there's a saying in the traffic world, you don't put out traffic signals to reduce speeding. You do that through enforcement. And there's been a lot of folks that have mentioned kind of the things that have been happening along Pacific Avenue, independent of anything we're talking about here. And I think those things are going to continue to happen if we don't take that next step and start to engage in enforcement. Luckily, I have the chief of police's cell phone number, so now him and I will have a.
And he is here. He's watching
Oh, I
upstairs
know.
below.
I know.
So just so the audience knows that
He's in the top deck.
that Chief is up there and he's also hearing all of the traffic concerns.
And I'll point out that you know even the public works staff that was responsible for some of the marking that's already out there, they're in the audience this evening because they're Auburn residents as well too, and everyone's vested. We're going to do this right.
I think what I hear you saying is that, I mean, and what I'm getting and to is the fact that we have a project, we have a couple of options, and there could be other options like we talked about. There's option 3, option 12, whatever. But there's a lot of options. But there's almost like two separate issues here. They're certainly related. One is just the bike lane that's consistent with the ATPA, with the active transportation plan. You know, I am one that's looking from a safety perspective for our residents and for our visitors. I don't, with all due respect, Councilwoman Mara, I'm not interested in giving up my car for a bike. That is just me. That's just me. I'm gonna drive my car. Okay. But I do run, and I am out there. But I think that, you know, as I mentioned, we went through this incredibly lengthy process with the ATPA over a year. We had so much community outreach on it. We adopted the plan. We introduced the plan at a meeting, and the next plan we adopted it. You know, and I think that we've learned some big lessons with this particular project, which was really the first project that we would be implementing out of the ATP. And that is community outreach, community outreach, community outreach. And so, and we're grateful that folks stepped up and brought this to our attention. You know, some of us, there were some assumptions that were made on our part and so forth, but, you know, you brought that to our attention, and we need to address that now, and I think that we are doing that. You know, for future projects, I would love to have seen, you know, a sign at the park saying, we're in the process of doing a bike lane, and so if you see a red line, don't, you know, those kinds of things. We've done, our fire chief has done a great job with the Firewise sign, and Roby Point with the grant. Let people know what's happening so that people know. And it's just the signage thing. We didn't go to everyone, well, we did do door to door because people had to have their trees trimmed. In any event, my point is that, you know, having some signage in some strategic places that there is a project, because we really don't have the opportunity to go to everybody's door. We just don't have that kind of staffing. And so, but a sign at the park or, you know, at both parks, things of that nature. And I would like us to utilize those even going forward today. But what I would say is that I think that we should move forward, you know, with an action on the bike path or bike lanes tonight, with the caveat that we have continued communication with our users, with the neighbors on the traffic calming issues. Perhaps they have some suggestions. Like I said, I like the crosswalk way. I want to know about that. But because there are bigger issues than just bikes using that. It's the overall safety of that road. And this project doesn't look at the overall all user safety. It's looking at just the one piece of the ATP. And so, you know, that's my thought. I think that we should take some action, but I think we need to provide you with direction. And I do want folks to have an opportunity, like I said, with regards to our traffic calming issues and how we can address those issues. Parking is imperative, and I know that MJ mentioned economic development. We want people to come in and use the canyon and to be able to park along there. I mean, that was one of the big things I talked to Menjel about when I went out there. I said, Menjel, I know people park out here because I see them all the time when I'm running. And that's important. And I think that we have the option with option 2 of opening up those spaces and then closing the bike lane for bigger events. The issue there is defining what is a bigger event. And that's where we need our community involved to help us. That's really where we need our community. So we know.
And I might add, we've already started meeting with ARD, and our city manager has been meeting. So that certainly is in the works, and the community should be involved. And now we know some individuals here who could be on the committee. But with that being said, I'm prepared to make a motion.
I would say larger events and also the weekend times that accommodate the needs of those high users of the park. I don't want it just to be those 7 times. I want it to be something that works for those who are actually utilizing the park on a regular basis and supporting our community. And so I will vote for option 2, but under the conditions that that's what we're going to do, is we're going to put in signage that makes it so that we're accommodating and meeting their needs as well as the needs of the
Well, that's
bikers.
why and I know you're ready to make a motion, but I might actually, if you like to add some things to it, so maybe if I could make a motion.
Sure.
But, because I was going to say that what I would say on that is that that's part of the community outreach and identifying which events, if it's a
I just don't
major
want to call it
event or-
large events, because if it's weekly, it's not normally considered a large event.
I would just say that, so what I would do is this, council, if I may. I would make a motion that we approve option 2 with the stipulation that staff look into a crosswalk and what we would need to do to put in an ADA crosswalk, which will be separate from this project. That staff begin outreach with the community and the users, through ARD and figuring out who's who, to talk about when is the most appropriate time to close the bike lane so that people have optimal parking. And then that we also, and then this is a long motion, look into the dots, putting those dots in that buffer zone. I think that's important as well.
And traffic calming.
Yeah, traffic calming. Well, the traffic calming in my
green.
mind is
And the
something
signage.
The signage. Well, the traffic calming and the signage.
Can we
I would
just-
say
just-
go to the traffic committee, but we need to talk about that too.
I think, can you make your motion and
That's
leave
my
it a little
motion.
open for him to?
Open-ended, yes. So,
work it.
yes, Amy, thank goodness it's being recorded. So option 2, so option 2 with direction to staff to, number 1, communication and outreach on when would be the best time or needed time to close the bike path. Number 2, look into a crosswalk where it would be allowed from an ADA perspective, what the costs would be and what would be necessary. And number 3 is working towards traffic calming, and that's separate from this project. And we can talk about traffic calming with the users of the park as well. So when we talk to the community outreach, it's talking to them about the parking and traffic calming. Does that make
And
sense?
any and other all?
And the kitchen sink, please.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, please.
No further comment?
Any further comment? So do you have an idea when striping would continue?
So I would say, based off of the motion that's presented to council, to staff, I would say continued use as it is right now, where you can park with the red. Through our outreach with you, we'll give some dates as to when the project will start, and then we will begin the new usage pattern. And
There'll be
it's-
signage
Yeah.
before,
Use the road as it is now.
yeah, before we begin again, we'll have some signage, but Mr. City Manager has
If we
something
could
to say.
just clarify on timing, I thought I understood we're approving option 2 tonight with some things for the staff to come back to council with. So under approving option 2, then the scope of work of what we have the contractor under contract for could begin immediately.
Right,
Because
can
that's
we
option 2.
unstripe?
Okay,
One-
that's what I
right.
just wanted to
'Cause
clarify. That's
both-
my understanding of the motion.
Both plans put parking on one side either way, so right, we could unstripe for sure one side.
I know the right guys. They're in the audience.
They'll be out there tomorrow.
But we, I just want to make sure that we have the signage and the rules figured out before we start making the no parking stuff. So
Yeah,
we just
before we
need to make
enforce.
sure that those conditions of when it's open and closed all get sorted out before we start enforcing.
Before we open the bike lane, we would have to have all those issues.
Yeah, addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, too many friction points.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
We've already talked about that a couple times.
Any further discussion?
We have a
Seeing
motion, so we
none,
can
we
call
have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Sure, Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowd Calvillo.
Aye.
Riddell Harris.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. And
Thank
please. You have contact information, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Compromise, that is good. And you are welcome to leave if this was your only item. We will not be offended.
They're like a lost.
Thank you. All right, folks, we still have 2 more items on our agenda, and I appreciate everyone's patience beyond words. Without further ado, I think we will move on to our appointment of a new city council member.
Sure, I'll introduce this item, Mayor, council members. Tonight, you'll be considering the appointment to fill the city council vacancy by the resignation of the late council member Mike Holmes. The council met and voted to open the application process to appoint a successor to this position. The outreach was very successful and included the city's website, social media, public notices published in the Auburn Journal, along with an article that they wrote. The application period closed August 10th. We received 5 applications, with 2 applicants not meeting the residency requirement, and 1 also withdrew. That leaves 2 eligible applicants for your consideration tonight. Before we begin, I'll briefly explain the interview process. 1 candidate will step outside while the other is interviewed. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an introduction, 4 questions from the council, follow-up questions from the council, and an opportunity for public comment, and 1 minute for a closing statement. Following the interviews, the council will consider the appointment by resolution. Once an appointment is made, I will administer the oath of office. We decided to begin. We will just go in alphabetical order, and we will bring up Miss Felicia Joy D. Prosper, and Bridget Powers will be stepping out of the council chambers. With that, Mayor, I turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome. Do you prefer Miss Joy DeProsper?
Sure.
Okay, wonderful. If you would like to start with a 2-minute intro, introduce yourself.
My name is Felicia Joy DeProsper.
Great. Is there anything you'd like to share about yourself?
I'm from Michigan, and Auburn really reminds me of the small town that I came from in Michigan. There's 5,144 people in the town that I was born in, so I really love Auburn.
Wonderful. Oh, yeah, if you don't
You
wanna-
can adjust the mic for you. There you
Okay.
go.
Is
That
that
makes it a
better?
little more comfortable.
Okay.
Council, are you comfortable if I administer the questions, or would we, it's okay if I go through them all? If you want. All right, well, we'll start down here then.
My question is, why do you want to serve on the city council?
Well, one of my clients told me I'd be really good at it and that I should apply. So that's what brought me here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. What are the roles and responsibilities of city council members at City Hall and in the community?
Well, the roles are for you guys to listen to the people, rule on the motion, and look out for the greater good of the community.
Okay, thank you. What is your understanding of the city's current budget and fiscal position, and what specific suggestions would you have to change it if needed?
Ooh, I wouldn't know the answer to that question. I didn't look into that, so I'm sorry.
Okay, I appreciate your honesty.
All right, I'm on question number 4. What objective do you believe what objectives do you believe are the most important to position the city for long-term success? Sorry about that. What objectives do you believe are the most important to position the city for long-term success?
Well, my main concern is the roads, because I drive a lot around here. And for a long time, I wanted Palm to get repaved, and it did. So I really thank you guys for that. But my main concern would be the conditions of the roads, because we're driving on these roads. And this is an older community up here. So tending to the roads that need tending to, like Bell was real bad for a while. You guys have kind of fixed that up a little bit better. Yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Do we have any?
I just have a quick question. You're not running in the election in November, is that correct?
I believe not.
I'm sorry?
No.
No, okay, thank you. Is there a reason why you decided just to apply for the appointment but didn't want to run for office? Just
Well,
wondering.
I would like to. I need to get my nomination papers to move forward with that.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you. Any further questions? Yes.
I have a question. You've listened tonight to everything.
Sure.
So my question to you is, how do you see Auburn progressing?
How do I see Auburn progressing? I just love it up here. I just think it's a wonderful place. And most people come up here because they know somebody that lived up here. Some people, like most of the people today were from here, which was real interesting. But I meet a lot of people that have met somebody and then they've retired up here. I know a lot of older people in the community, more so than any of the younger people in the community. So I really find it to be very beneficial for you to sustain yourself if you were maybe disabled or didn't really have more means of, getting around like in a big city. It's very easy to shop up here. It's very easy to get around. I find it easy to be accessible to live your life up here.
Good. Thank you.
I have one.
You're welcome.
You seem active in the business community. Do you know of, what would you say are some things we could do to improve Auburn that would help local businesses?
It's very hard to do business up here in Auburn, I believe. You gotta network, and I have my people. Like, I've been really blessed, but I really lean on the Lord a lot for that. I can't really speak for other people, how they do things or how they're going about Because I see a lot of businesses close down. Like the place across the street from me has changed hands 3 times. And I was shocked that they left, and it always makes me feel bad. And then there was that, because I got a dog 4 years ago, and there's that Vanity Pet place. That didn't last long either. I was shocked to see that place go out of business. So I'm just grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a option here for any public comment. Do we have any public comment? All right, seeing none, would you like to make any closing statements?
Yes. Good evening, fellow city council members and managers and staff. From my understanding, you are undergoing the election for the occupation of city council board member. I understandably are responding to that principle. I feel I am obligated and persist to respond to this election, not to all, but as successfully. So therefore, I will do my very best that I am elected as your city council member. And believe me, I won't let you down. Don't forget, Felicia Doy DeProsper is who's gonna get the job done as a city council member. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your interest in stepping up. We really do appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Oh, I guess so.
Good evening.
Good evening. Will you please introduce yourself?
You want me to start with that in my 2-minute
Yes.
entry, or
Yes,
just
please.
introduce myself first?
You can go into your intro.
Okay, because even though I've been around these chambers a lot, it's still nerve-wracking being interviewed by several people I admire and respect. My name is Bridget Powers, and I want to tell a little story, and then at the end tell you why I would appreciate you choosing me for this appointment this evening. But I want to go back in time. And I'll do it all. Of course you did that to me. In 2006, the community asked the city council to create a place for community to gather and to make the community more walkable and to allow for outdoor dining as well as many other things. In 2010, this was realized with our wonderful Central Square. This community-driven, huge undertaking took just 4 years to accomplish because your city council heard you loud and clear. I had the honor as mayor at the time to be the master of ceremonies. However, it was the entire city council working together with the community and the city staff to bring this together so quickly. This is what I will bring to the city council. Working together with the community, finding ways to improve our business districts, and creating spaces our citizens can enjoy with their friends and family. One of the city council members at the time was the late Mike Holmes, whose seat I'm asking to be appointed to serve the rest of his term. If appointed, I plan to carry out Mike's desire to preserve our historic character and his love of the arts that are so important to our community. He had many other things that were important to the day-to-day operations of the city, but these were his passion, and I agree with this, and him and his desire to preserve the history and to encourage the arts community here in our city. The skills I will bring to the council are communication and collaboration with my fellow council members.
Bridget, I'm going to have you just wrap it up a little. You're past
Yes,
your.
I have
Sorry.
13 seconds.
No, you have
No,
negative.
you're over. You're in the
And
minus.
for the betterment of Auburn, plus well over 20 years of experience in government and in the private sector. And that's it. Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry, I just have to be fair. And so we've got 4 questions for you. We'll each ask you one. Sandy?
I have the hardest question. Why do you want to serve on the city council?
After tonight,
That's why it's a hard question.
it's not a hard question. I served for 13 years prior. We had much harder questions, even Central Square that I briefly talked about. I'm not afraid of those challenges. I like to work with our community and make sure that we're doing everything together. I love my city, and I've lived here for a lot of years, and I care about what direction it takes and what it's doing for our citizens and our businesses. And I want to continue to serve, and this is in my community as I recently retired from a full-time job and feel I have more time. And I want to continue to give back like I did for 13 years in the past.
Thank you.
I have the second question. What are the roles and responsibilities of city council members at City Hall and in the community?
Well, the number one role and responsibility is financial stability, as we all know, and of course, public safety. And in the community is to make sure that we hear, listen, collaborate, and communicate to make sure we're meeting the needs of what our citizens are asking for from us within our financial ability to do so.
Okay, thank you. What is your understanding of the city's current budget and fiscal position, and what specific suggestions would you have to change it if needed?
You don't have enough time, but tonight I think we don't have enough time. Sorry, I didn't mean specific to you, Mayor. We have some problems coming up. We have some financial deficits that are going to strongly impact the future of the city of Auburn. And I feel another example, Central Square was a very big picture item that was hard to fathom in such a short time, and we need to be thinking bigger picture. I'm all for building an industrial building and helping with our sales tax revenue and all those things, but if we don't think in a bigger, broader way of what that bigger picture is going to look like in order to create more revenue and not think small, but think much bigger about what can we do.
Thank you.
What do I turn that on? Excuse me. What objectives do you believe are the most important to position Auburn for long-term success?
Well, our number one objective is to really dig deep into our budget and to really think big about what we have to do to get to the next step in the future and not continue to have budget crisis. I also believe that we need to reinstate and add our rainy day reserve fund, and I have specific things that I feel that we should be using that for and things that I don't think we should be using that for. So I would certainly, working together with the council member, really encourage that we start working towards that. So when we have another large recession or economic downturn, we're prepared. There's so much. I could talk all night to how I feel about what directions we can go and where we need to be.
Thank you. Do we have any follow-up questions?
No. I'll think of one, but pass for a minute.
So, Bridget, what do you think is the city's biggest challenge at this point in time? And how would you address it?
Well, obviously, for safety. I say that last, even though it's number one on my goals of making sure that we have a fire-safe community and that we're prepared. That is our biggest issue in order to protect our city. Best example right now is what's happening over in Reno. Are we prepared? Are we doing everything we can to be prepared? That is one of our biggest issues, but if we don't have a fiscally sound budget, we're not going to be able to pay for the staff that we need and the public safety we need to protect our community. So public safety, obviously number one. Sorry I didn't mention it first. I'm a little nervous.
I
Thank you.
have a question now.
Oh, yes. No, you already gave up your opportunity.
No, this is a
We
good
went
one.
beyond.
This is a good, easy one. So I just want to end on well, maybe not end, but I want positiveness. So my question to you is, what is the most positive aspect of Auburn that's occurred in the last, how many years? 8 years.
Well, you hired an economic development director who has been creative with the limited funding that he has had in order to create entertainment zones, to try and work more closely with our businesses, to try and help our businesses be more successful. And I will say this, it is up to the businesses to participate too. 20 years ago, I said if our businesses are only open from 10 until 4 p.m., I, who work down the hill in Sacramento, am leaving my house at 6 a.m. and I'm not even getting home having dinner till 7. That has changed.
Yeah.
And Central Square and what your previous council did ahead of time with that bigger picture vision now sees we have lovely high-end restaurants, quite nice restaurants. We have shops and boutiques that some are thriving, some are not. I'm hoping to help them all be successful. But we have made a lot of changes and differences outside dining. We have made it a more walkable community, a more bikeable community. By the way, my husband rode his bike here. I
with the
drove
dog.
because of these, but he rode his bike here. And
You
all
could have
those,
just wrote in the basket.
all those things that, those are positive things I have seen happen.
Thank you very much.
I was just we spent a lot of time over the last couple years working on our general plan, which is now in the public comment phase, and getting a lot of positive, lots of different feedback from our community. Is there anything in the general plan or in the future of Auburn that you see that you're really optimistic about or you think will be a good change for Auburn?
I've been looking at 2 general plans, the counties and ours, and some, it's a lot to read. I have a few areas where maybe I wouldn't necessarily do it that way and wouldn't agree, but I actually had a conversation with the planning commissioner tonight who might change my mind on how I feel about what direction we should take. But it's about time. I believe we've been asking for the general plan update for a long, long time, and what I most respect about what you've done is you've done it simultaneously with the county, and you've worked together to make sure we aren't going to have lawsuits on our borders ever again, that we are working collaboratively and together to help us all be successful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is an opportunity for public comment. Sure.
And I'm coming to the podium now because I'm not sure, Amy, if there's going to be another opportunity for public comment later this evening, or is this the last opportunity?
This is just on the appointment.
Just on this item.
Just on this particular,
On the appointment that we're doing right now.
Talking about this.
okay, well then this is relevant. Regardless of who the council selects tonight, the new council member has an opportunity to appoint a brand new planning commissioner. We are going through the general plan, as you all know, and we have 5 planning commissioners right now that have been studying and working on that general plan. It would be nice if the new council member would appoint the new planning commissioner to take office after the planning commission has reviewed and advanced the general plan and the EIR documents onto council. In other words, what I'm trying to avoid is a brand new planning commissioner coming in at the 11th hour. I have the most respect for whoever is going to be appointed by either one of these 2 council members, but but I would prefer to see that occur after we advance the general plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, how would you like us to proceed? Oh, yes, you may have a 1 minute closer.
closing.
Sorry.
So sorry, thank you. I get another 60 seconds, get it on the thing there.
On the clock.
I just want to say that I have had experience. I think I've hired 3 city managers, 2 police chiefs, 2 fire chiefs, and worked for Placer County as a chief of staff for the last 3 years, working very closely with Placer County. And so I feel like I have the right experience, knowledge, and a very good relationship with Placer County, and I would be the best person for the position. Thank you.
And one question that was brought up. Are you planning to run for election in the campaign? Are you running for?
Oh, I'm out there. electbridgetpowers.com. I have fundraisers planned. I mean, my signs are on order. I'm definitely in full campaign mode. I have a little vacation coming up, but I am planning in September to start full court campaigning.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry, Madam Clerk, how would you like us to proceed?
Council will now deliberate, as awkward as open interviews may be.
Madam Mayor, if I could just say that one thing I just would like to say is that I really appreciate our 2 candidates. You know, serving on the city council is a really tough job. You know, you try to do the best that you can for the overall community. You have a lot of people whispering in your ear, some not whispering but yelling and throwing sticks, while others are praising you. And it's a tough job. It's tough because you've got to go through the information. You need to be prepared, which is incredibly important. It's very time consuming. Certainly you don't do this for the money. You do it because you love this community. We all love this community up here. And so I really want to just thank our candidates for coming up. It's tough to put yourself out there. It's tough to come up and be interviewed. It's tough to campaign. So thank you very much to both of our candidates for taking the risk, because you never know. I always tell my daughter, you got to take you never know unless you take the risk. So thank you. And I'm ready to make a motion. So with that said, I feel that Ms. Powers has demonstrated that she possesses the experience necessary to really do this job justice. It's no stranger to know that Bridget and I have worked together for a very long time, so I know firsthand of her qualifications. She's passionate about this community. It puts her money where her mouth is. She's out there walking the walk, really is. And it would be an honor and a pleasure to have the opportunity to serve with her. She and I have never served together on the council. She replaced me back in 2005 when I took a little job with the Governor Schwarzenegger. Bridget came in and did a great job, and she left before I got back on. So I think that she's demonstrated that she has the experience and the skills necessary to do this job, and I would be honored to move the appointment of Bridget Powers.
I'd like to second that, and I appreciate, again, both candidates very much. But I do want to say, Bridget Powers, I'm seconding this because I respect what you set up there, what I read, how you want to move the city forward, and your respect for Mike Holmes. But most importantly, this is an interim. You have to jump in right now, and we need someone who has the ability and the experience to be able to jump in. There's going to be a lot of very tough decisions, and I appreciate the experience that Bridget has. I appreciate our other candidate, however, coming forward, and I hope in the future that you get involved with the city, and maybe we'll see you again, from my perspective. Anyway.
I like the comment about Mike Holmes. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Riddell Hurst.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye.
And speaking of
Motion
jumping,
passes.
Yeah, good jazz hands. Speaking of jumping right in, I will now perform the oath of office for incoming council member Bridget Powers.
Now I don't have to yell anymore. Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
all right. Everything's exploding. All right, Kale, are you still here?
I'll do a really brief introduction
appreciate
on
your
this.
I don't mind if you abbreviate it.
Joining us now for the final council business item tonight, we have ARD, Auburn Recreation Parks District Annual Park Impact Mitigation Fee Report.
Thank you for having me. Cale Muscott with the Auburn Recreation District, and I will try to make this pretty quick. Is it?
Yeah, click.
Which button am I pushing?
Down.
Yeah. There it goes. Okay, so this is my report for our fiscal year, which ended March 31st. The number you see there, the 195,952, is actually what we have at our, sitting with ARD and on our balance sheet. There's another, that's in your report, 36,575 at the city that hasn't been transferred over yet. What am I pointing this at? Huh? Yeah. All right. Okay. So anyways, just going to go over the projects. We didn't have any projects that used city mitigation funds last year, so these are the ones that are coming up right now. The first one is a new playground and ADA path of travel at Recreation Park. It's to replace that playground right there. Estimated cost is $120. Then the city mitigation fees to be used is $120. So this is a process, and we've done this before with our other playgrounds. Man, it's not working. Okay, so first of all, I'm sorry. That's where the playground is at the north end of Recreation Park. That's one of the pieces of the equipment out there that is very, very old. This is our oldest playground.
It's still there.
Yes.
As an attorney, you should remove that.
It's closed. You can't go down it. It's boarded up at the top. Yeah. So anyway, so we go through a process where we ask, we give the budget to a bunch of playground manufacturers and say, here's your budget, give us your best playground for this budget. So we had, what is that, 6 this time, or 7? 7 different playground manufacturers come up with their best design. Then we put it out to the public for voting. You tell us which one you like. And so the winner this year was, or this time was Compan, which actually they won the last one too. And that's their design off to the side right there. One of the challenges, we did ask them to try to incorporate as much shade as possible, but what we were finding is that the more shade they put in, shade's expensive, and the more shade they put in, it was less playground equipment. And I think that's why one of those up there has a bit more shade on it, but it didn't get very many votes because it doesn't have very much equipment. So our goal is to then, as we can, add shade down the line around this equipment. And we're going to plant some more trees, but trees take a while to grow. So we know shade's a thing, so we're working on it. And this is the path of travel. So the solid yellow line is the current ADA path of travel around the building from the ADA parking spots, and the dotted line represent the way that will take you into the playground, because there is no current ADA path of travel to that playground. Okay, emergency exit onto Recreation, from Recreation Park onto Auburn Folsom Road. We bumped up the estimated cost on this to $80,000 because we're just not sure, because we might have to put in a little bit more road and expansion there than we thought. But I'll show you a little map. And this is seen this before, so it's right there off of by the bocce courts, kind of. And you can see where it dumps in under that little spur off of Auburn Folsom Road. And that is an emergency exit to get. It's a second way out of all the folks that live up. I can't think of those streets, up of Palmyra and stuff up there, that area. Because I believe there's only one way out. Isn't that correct, John? Yeah. So, okay, so a couple other so before I move on, is there any questions about those projects? Okay, real quick. So other projects of note, not using city mitigation funds, but they're here in the city. We are doing some levee repairs on the Ashford Park Playground. On the right of that picture is the pond. You can see the water. And the other side is it's designed so when it rains a lot, the water's supposed to overflow, but there's also drainage underneath it. It is failing. And as you can see on the left side of that picture, it is it's collapsing the road. So we've got to get that fixed. It's our main way to get in to mow over there, but also we have a garage down there that we use for storage. So yay for us. That's the location of it at Ashford Park. So the dog park's down there at the bottom, kind of middle-ish. And you see the pond. Staying at Ashford Park, January when we had those hard rains, it finally blew out for the second time, the culvert. That culvert is on the right side picture, the solid line that's kind of gold. That's the existing culvert. We do not know how old it is. It is very old. It's the entire bottom part of it is rusted out. We did set a camera up, but it is useless at this point. So we are going to have to reroute it. It took us a little time, but we finally got insurance is going to cover this for us. So it drains a lot of things. Mainly, most of the water comes off the tracks right there, the UP tracks, but some of it comes from up above on the Sutherland property. And there's just no way we can we're going to keep getting holes like that, like my employee Kevin is standing in on that left side. That's what happened this last time. It blew a giant hole in the earth. Other projects, once again, Beggsfield Scoreboard. This has been going on for far too long. Little League is now, they're finally getting, and you see the kind of the example over there, you got those sponsors at the bottom. They're finally getting their last sponsors in on that so we can get the scoreboard ordered. ARD's pitching in $7,500, and the rest is all coming from Little League, either through cash or in-kind donations. Oh, the gazebo, gosh, what fun. Big branch fell on that and took it out. We were going to get it repaired. As a matter of fact, Nick and some of his crew was looking at trying to just fix it for us. Well, then we found out after we brought out some engineers and architects that when that branch hit it, it really kind of twisted the whole thing, and it made it unsafe. And then when they looked into it further, when it was built back in some time ago, 60s, it's not to code. I'll cut to the chase. It's not to code. Not even the slab is to code anymore. So the whole darn thing's got to be ripped out. Insurance is going to pay for it. We just got that approval 2 weeks ago. Our insurance moves just terribly slow, but yeah, it'll be a replacement. So, and I'll just run through these super quick. Just the events. You guys know these events. You can stop me if there's anything you see in here that's you want to know about. There's Bridget. Harvest Fest, all these things, please come. They're great fun. And Santa's Chest, great fun. So, and that's it. The bike park.
Good end. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from council? Yep.
First, thank you for doing the ADA path to that one. My daughter didn't walk until she was almost 3, and so trying to get her with how much she weighed at that point up to the park was challenging, and all the kids wanted to go, and so.
Do you guys use the south one now?
She's walking now, so it's okay.
Oh, okay.
But back in the day, she was in a hip brace, and trying to get her in swings and all that stuff was all a challenge. So I appreciate all the ADA upgrades that you're making, because I know it helps those people who have those challenges. So I appreciate that. I always like to know how Discovery Club is doing, because I know that's a big financial part of what you do.
It's doing well. We're working more closely with the school district now because we're using a lot more ELOP funds, and they've got a new ELOP director, coordinator, whatever, I forget his title. But so that's helpful. But it's they're trying to make it easier for everybody. But we're just
maybe more work for you.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's going to work. Right now, it's just everybody's trying to figure out because it's all new for them too. So just trying to figure out the best way. So because they get audited by the state, so they want to make sure that we're doing things the right way. So, but we're sold out. I mean,
No, my kids go to
we've
Discovery
got
Club,
waiting lists. So
yeah. Okay. The last one is not in Auburn. I've been asked a couple times about the roof and the basketball court at Regional Park, and is there any
roof?
That they've been told that it's not a real basketball floor because the roof leaks. And
Well, okay, so the floor out there's got that rubberized surface to it because we had multiple failures of the kind of not so much the roof, but believe it or not, the gutter for that building is on the inside of the building. So imagine looking up there and seeing the bottom of the gutter. That's what we have out there. So that failed multiple times. We've got it fixed. It hasn't failed any time recently. But after the second or third time we had replaced portions or the entire sections of the wooden floor, we decided to put the rubberized stuff in. Now the rubberized stuff is failing, and we're going to have a decision to make about what we're going to replace it with, either wood or the rubber stuff.
Okay.
And if we do wood, we're just hoping we don't have any more problems.
I think it's just easier to play on the surface they're more comfortable on. So I've had several people ask me, and so
the rubber it's not as good as a wooden floor. No doubt about it.
I just didn't understand the roof thing, so I thank you for clarifying that for me.
Yeah, it was a really interesting design. I don't know why they ended up like that. And it's basically just it's a metal building with a skin on it, but for some reason the gutter's on the inside. If you look up and next time you're in there, just look up and say, "Oh my gosh, the gutter's on the inside."
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Powers, any questions or comments?
Get used. I feel like I'm only 5 minutes too new, but I've been working with Cale for over 25 years, and whenever I ask for something, he gets it for us. So thank you for all you do.
Good.
Yes, thanks for the report, Cale. I appreciate it. Good to see that the park mitigations are being utilized for great purposes. So, advancing our parks are very important. So thank you so much.
Actually, I do have one thing to comment. Would you quit telling Jim Gray to come to me when there's a pickleball problem?
There's no way he's coming to you about it more than he's coming to me.
Okay, good. Because I direct them back to you.
Cale, thank you so much. I appreciate all the work you've put into this playground. I know I've shared many concerns with you over the last couple of years that it's essential that parents, especially the most tired ones with the smallest kids who have the least amount of time to advocate, have somewhere that is low stress to go be with other parents and caregivers and to have equipment that is appropriate for their children. So I really appreciate that and that you guys followed through with that. You're a great partner. You're fun to work with. You do great projects. The bike park's awesome.
Come to our events.
Yep. Come to the events, support ARD. Thank you to board member Engel back there for joining. And any further questions? I think that was just for information. Thank you. All right, reports. You need to go. Okay. We have city manager report.
Thank you. For the lateness of the hour, would like to acknowledge our service award recipients for our August milestones. Our economic development director, Jonathan Wright, is been with us now for 5 years. Fire Captain James Murphy. And Battalion Chief Matt Jelly have been all 5-year recipients here in August. And a special call out for Andy Firkin for 20 years of service this August. Now, Andy works not only at the treatment plant, but also generally within the public works crews just to help keep our city as beautiful it is. So I just wanted to call those individuals out this evening. The city manager's report is outside in the lobby for anybody who wanted to read through the details. And with that, it's back to you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next item, future agenda items, discussion and identification of topics that require attention in upcoming meetings. This section allows council members to propose new ideas, unresolved issues, or projects that need further planning or discussion. Do we have any future agenda items?
I was just going to say that, just to give you an update, that the city manager and I are working on the group, convening our group to talk about events at the high school that impact parking in the Roby Point area. We've identified the stakeholders and we'll be inviting them to meetings to talk about that. So.
Perfect. Thank you. And finally, city council committee reports. Do we have any reports from council? Oh,
Can
yes.
I just?
I can wait.
State, oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that from our former city manager, Sean Rabe, watched this entire thing, and he says it's the first all-female council in Auburn's history, first in Placer County, and only the second in the capital region west of Sacramento, was first in 2023. So we are making history today.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. Yes, West Sacramento is all female. Wow, well, there you have it.
Committee reports?
I don't have any.
We had a successful economic development town hall. It was well attended. The tacos were incredible from McGuire's, and we will be scheduling a next one in October. That's all
Keep
I
me
have.
apprised. Yeah, we had SACOG last week.
Sure.
Unfortunately, even though we had a lot of people there, we lacked a quorum. We didn't have a majority of the counties present, so we couldn't take any action, but we did hear from Congressman Vera. But yeah, so anyway.
All right, and in the interest of time, it has been discussed that we will not do closed session. Yes?
Yes, we discussed that, and we're happy to continue those to the next agenda. If there's direction to do that and a motion in a second, just to continue those on to the next meeting, we're happy to do that.
I move we continue the closed session onto the next council meeting.
Can I ask a quick question? I believe that's September 14th. Isn't it? When's the next one?
That's correct.
I'll be at the Aurora Borealis in Fairbanks, Alaska, which I didn't get a chance to let you know. I'm going to miss one meeting throughout the course of the end of the year. But we are making big decisions, and I'm open to special sessions and all those things in order to facilitate getting our new city manager rolling. So whatever you need.
Okay. I'll second the motion to continue at the next scheduled council meeting.
Would you like roll call?
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Amara?
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo? Powers? Mayor Davis?
Aye.
I will note Councilmember Riddell Harris is not in the chambers for this vote.
Fantastic. Thank you to everyone who has remained here to the end. Have a good night.